technology club in Taylor's University that caters to anyone who is passionate in technology or coding. So today we have 6 industrial leaders that will provide their personal insights into the cybersecurity industry. Firstly, we have Alan C., the co-founder and CEO of Firmus. Mr. Alan, could you briefly give an explanation, give an introduction to yourself or your company?
Hello, hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan C. I am the CEO and co-founder for Firmus. Firmus is one of the largest cybersecurity consulting firm in Malaysia. We are in the market for about 13 years. We have about 40 to 50 employees currently. We have offices in Singapore and also other places in the region. Hi, nice to meet you, and hope we can share something over this session with you. Thank you.
All right. So Mr. Kelvin would be joining us in a later time. So I'll be moving on to Dr. Avis Yu, the co-founder of MyInfoman. Dr. Avis, could you give a brief introduction of yourself and your company?
Hi. Yeah, sure. Okay. Thank you, Jasper. Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Avis Yu, and I'm currently running the UCS and also the co-founder of the MyInfoman in Malaysia. And we are the consulting company as well. And we provide management system consultants such as the information security management, IT service management, and the business continuity management. We also provide a crypto module testing consultant. For example, this is the standard against the NIST FIPS 140-2. And also we provide IT product security evaluation. Yeah, so thank you for meeting you. Thank you.
All right. So moving on, we have Mr. Law Sherhao, the CISO of Touch 'n Go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lao Shehao. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for Touch 'n Go. Touch 'n Go as in the card whereby you use for your parking, for your tolls.
How about an introduction about yourself, Mr. Law?
Okay, I've been in, my background mainly is from banking environment. I've been in banks for more than 10 years. Touch 'n Go is just another payment industry player. So it's something that I'm very familiar with.
All right. So moving on, we have Dr. Hussein Jasri, the Senior Vice President of Cybersecurity in Serba Dynamics. Dr. Hussein?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, as mentioned, my name is Hussein Jasri, and I'm with Serba Dynamic. And then I'm leading the cybersecurity services in Serba Dynamic. And one of the project that we are at the moment is called ESPC, or E-Security and Privacy Channel. It is quite ambitious project though, in which we are consolidating all cybersecurity services cradle to heaven into one consolidated digital platform, or the entire verticals. We work with partners. We cannot deliver everything on our own, and cybersecurity is moving too fast, and we need strategic partners. We work with strategic partners locally in Malaysia as well as overseas. To date, we have around 30 partners, and we should be able to deliver almost all of the needs that a customer wants.
All right, thank you. So without further ado, let's begin the cyber initiative. So we'll begin our first topic, which is the personal insight and how our speakers got into the industry of cybersecurity. Can I have Dr. Hussein, Mr. Allen, and Mr. Law? Hold on.
Okay.
All right, so let me just ask some few questions to Q. So as you know, cybersecurity is one of the most talked about fields. So I'd like to ask all of you on how you started in the fields and what were the challenges that you guys faced along the way. I guess Dr. Jas, you can go first.
Yeah, I think it goes a long way. I guess I was in the military before, way back in the 80s, and I was commissioned as in the Royal Signals. So naturally, my work is very much focusing on communication security from the start. So I got involved with cybersecurity. Then it wasn't cybersecurity; it was called information security.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, the cybersecurity comes about, or internet comes about in the early 90s, in the mid 90s, and I think it becomes quite aggressive in Malaysia around the year of 2000. Then I think from there on, then the focus has been expanded to from information security to also cybersecurity. Yeah, and I guess I have a lot of colorful experiences from military experience into the research and development. I was in Mimos Berhad as the director of the National Cybersecurity Emergency Response Center. I think I know Alan then when he was in Technology Park, and and then I was also the founder and the first CEO of Cybersecurity Malaysia. So I ham Cybersecurity Malaysia for 12 years before I changed my changing wind, and then I moved to Africa and become a professor at the Southern African University called Namibia University of Science and Technology, and was there for about 6 years plus 7 years, and then moved to Middle East for 1 year, and then came back to Malaysia and served Asia Pacific University for 1 year before I joined Serba Dynamic.
All right. Thank you for the insight. So, Mr. Allen, you can go next.
We can see Professor Dr. Jess has come from a long way. He's a very, very experienced cybersecurity veteran and well-respectable cybersecurity expert in the market. He's my Sifu actually. Anyway,
You're very humble.
I graduated from TAR College, in 1992. So as those days, as you know, in our study, there's no such project or program or course called IT security, cybersecurity, not at all. It is all programming, and we are using a very old programming languages like Pascal, COBOL, and things like that. So how do I get involved in this business? Was when I graduated from college, and my first company I joined was a cybersecurity, or back then it's called IT security company. So we do firewall, we do IDS. Those days still called IDS, and back then, to be frank, many people don't even know what is firewall. They assume firewall is something to protect the office from fire. So I have to go to convince the client on firewall. So in 2000, I remember in 2001, I co-founded and started a new cybersecurity startup, with the name of eCorp, being the first 24/7 managed security service provider in Malaysia. Back then, in about 20 years ago. So back then, nobody also know what is MSS all about, what is managed security services. And we had to go and convince a bank, especially, finance industry was well regulated by Bank Negara, and they have to go on to have a system which will be able to do surveillance on your network 24/7. So we actually went into right timing, and we managed to clinch at least 40 to 50% of the local banking sector, and including of insurance sector. And that's a company, also one of the very big cybersecurity company back then in 2001 and 2000. So after that, after 8 years there, we sold the company to the other shareholders in Singapore, Certis Security, and I founded Firmus in Malaysia in 2008. So we have 13 years here. So in 2008, then we started to do services like penetration testing, and security solutioning until now. So like I say, I joined this industry also by accident because as an IT guy, I shall end up in the IT department, or those days they don't call IT department, they call EDP department, MIS department. But so happened because I interview a job, and subsequently the company is a company who actually do security back then. So I joined, and that's how I ended up this industry for more than close to 25 years. That's about the way how I entered the market. Thank you.
All right, thank you. How about you, Mr. Law?
Okay, I would say that yeah, back then during my time as well, I'm slightly junior from Mr. Allen. There's not much cybersecurity or information security type of courses. So I'm a computer science graduate. Like most of you guys who got interested in this one, I suppose, is from watching movies and all that. So I watch a lot of movies whereby you see hackers, they say, I managed to hack the firewall and I get into the system. So that's something that, how to say, attracted me to say, okay, maybe when I grow up, I want to be a hacker or something like that. So hackers normally is on the bad, how to say, bad guy side, right? So I try to study during my computer science days. When you learn about programming and all that, then it's part of what skills required by hackers. When I first started to work, I didn't start out as a IT security or a cybersecurity type of work. I started as a programmer, which to support the HR system. After it was in one of Malaysia's largest banks, so that bank is also Alan's first company's customer, long-time customer. When there was there's a major restructure in the organization, there was an opening in the IT security department. So I start to remember back that, okay, this is the field that I wanted to go in, and this is the chance that I can take. So I took on that opportunity to join the IT security team. When I started out, I know nothing about IT security, even for basic troubleshooting. So I didn't know how to do try-cert. The only thing I know the only command that I know how to run is ping, whereby in the old days you will need ping to try to help you keep your internet connection alive. That's the only thing I know about troubleshooting, for network troubleshooting. In my very short term with that company, about 5 years, I learned so much about IT security that helped me on my journey until now. So I've been in banking for something like 12, 13 years. Then I tried out many other fields as well. I tried out consulting. I tried out telecommunications. All of the different industries, they have different experiences, right? All of those experiences helped me learn more and more about IT security, especially MNCs based out of Europe. Their thinking is totally different from Asian mentality. So that company taught me much more security than I learned 10 plus years in. So all of those experiences helped me to climb up to this position now as the Chief Information Security Officer for Touch 'n Go.
All right. So I guess moving on to the next question is, what motivated you to pursue in this industry? What was your motivation to become who you are now? I guess Mr. Loy can go first.
Okay, so as I mentioned just now, so watching a lot of movies, sort of like hacker movies, then they say, oh, it's very cool, I managed to hack the firewall and I got into whatever not. But in reality, it's not always that's the case, right? You don't really hack a firewall, you try to bypass it instead. So the idea of being a bad person actually helped me think of how to secure my company actually. I need to think like a bad guy, okay, to see what are the things that I can do to get around my security, and I try to mitigate all of those threats.
I see. All right, how about Dr. Gas?
Yeah, I think what motivates me is basically I'm I'm tight, I guess. It wasn't in my plan earlier, but I was a military scholar. I was from the Royal Military College, and naturally I got a scholarship to the US, came back in 1987, and I was commissioned, as I told you, in the Royal Signals. I cannot run away from the core business of battlefield communication, security management, and delivery of communication from battlefront to the base HQ. Along the way, I guess I got involved with Bosnian mission, where satellite communications was established, and I was asked to establish secure communication, and I wrote some cryptographic codes over satellite comms. Then it was interesting to relay some messages from Bosnian soldiers, our Malaysian troops in Bosnia, to their family members in Malaysia. So, and vice versa. And then it was quite an interesting journey, and along the way, and I like to be creative and challenge a new paradigm, I guess. I like to venture into new things. So then I got the opportunity to propose, for instance, the Army, the military IT center. It was not there before me, because before that it was all physical battle. There was no digital battle at all. So I got the chance to battle, to have a knowledge battle, to convince my bosses about they should spend some money instead of buying bullets into spending to buy computers. So it wasn't that easy then, when it comes to battle mission and management. So, but it was a successful venture and adventure. And then after that, I was able to establish the Malaysian Armed Forces, or the Armed Forces Cyber Warfare Division, and now they call it CDOC, Cyber Security or Cyber Defense Operation Center. Now it's become larger than before. With that, I was asked to move to help the National IT Council in MIMOS. Then I was called to lead the National ICT Security and Emergency Response Center, NICER, where the pretext then was, if Malaysia moves into the knowledge economy, how do we sustain a knowledge-based attacks? Then they do not call a digital economy. They do not say a digital nation. It was knowledge economy, and that was the term used then. So with that mandate, and I got only 5 years by MIMOS CEO. I think the visionary Datuk Yang Mulia Dr. Tengku Azman Sharifuddin, and also I call it the father of internet in Malaysia, Dr. Muhammad Awanglah. I still attribute them as the father of. I think Tengku Azman was was a visionary man that supports Tun Dr. Mahathir then to embrace the digital or knowledge economy, or knowledge technology then. So these two guys are very instrumental in the Malaysian landscape of the internet. Yeah? And then I was asked to look into the cybersecurity side, and it was fascinating because I can apply the electronic warfare concept, the information security concept, into the cyberspace. And then from that, I was able to, I architected Cybersecurity Malaysia. So what you see now in Cybersecurity Malaysia is what you get. It was from my brain. It was, nobody believes me then. It was like, what are you doing then? It was not as much as they know Cybersecurity Malaysia now. So I was battling to struggle on how to position that new organization along with National Security Council, with MCMC, with regulatory bodies, with the police and all that. So that's, and then I'm very privileged to be the first person to manage at the national level an attack, a very, I say, widespread attack called Code Red and NIMDA. If you remember this, those days, even the ATM was like, was stuck, you know, you cannot withdraw money from your ATM machines because of that worm, yeah, Code Red and NIMDA, and after that, you know, after that, you just can't keep track of all the names that emerged after that until now. So that was it, and then a lot of things was accomplished then. So we were able to get digital forensic services going, and then we got the recognition from the American Cybercrimes Lab Certification Program. So I was able to bring in common criteria to Malaysia, and Malaysia became the first producer country among the developing nation. So we were always the first then when I was there for the past 12 years that I was helming. And then we become created those programs like CyberSafe and many more things that happened during those time. I'm proud of what I did, I guess, and I think I have contributed a lot from that perspective, from the national policy and from the national cybersecurity perspective. So that's keep me going, and then the new challenge comes by, and then I said, what do I feel if I go into the academic line, you know, after the government line, after the military line, after the military exposure, after the government exposure, after the R&D exposure, GLCs. Now let's try. In fact, before that, I tried as a startup. I started consulting work. Despite the glory that I have had, it was a struggle. You know, it's not easy to build a startup then. Business, I think you need to have a deep pocket to wait for the money to be paid, and you know the government is not paying the money on time sometimes, or even the banks, or even the big organization, they force you to wait. Like it's supposed to pay within 2 weeks, then you end up waiting for 2 months. So I think it's not easy to sustain business oration then. After that, I venture into.
Sorry to cut you out, Dr. Jeff. Because we're a bit short on time, as it's just 30 minutes. So are you okay if I move on to Mr. Allen?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, sorry. So Mr. Allen, can you go next?
No problem. I will cut it short. You know, anyway, if Dr. Awang La is the father of internet for Malaysia, I think father of cybersecurity should be attributed to Professor Dr. Jess, because he started the NICER, or currently renamed as the Cybersecurity in Malaysia, way back in 1990s. I can't remember the years. Anyway, I think my path was a bit different from these two gentlemen, because they come from very technical background, even though they are IT background, but they are more technically sound. Myself, actually, from IT graduate, and subsequently I venture into business because I prefer to talk, I prefer to think, and that's why, you know, doesn't mean I don't think. What I'm saying is that, you know, I don't like to do technical jobs, you know, where I think I wish to be a businessman. So that's why, you know, in year 2001, that was 22 years ago, we started a very new initiative, and also a new startup called eCorp, you know, because back then nobody talked about outsourcing security, because outsourcing security involve lots of trust. You know, how can I trust you? How can I allows you to monitor my network, especially at the bank level? You know, so that's why to us is that there's no point for me to resell firewall anymore, because I believe that, you know, after 10 years, firewall will become commodity. In fact, right now you look at a firewall, antivirus, IDS, IPS, routers, these are considered as commodity when there's no margin. So 20 years ago, we together with other co-founders in Singapore and Hong Kong, actually we think what can be something novelty in the market, and we study US trend and we see, hey, people start to outsource their cybersecurity to a trustable company. Hence, in 2001, we started a company and we set up our first security operations center in TPN, Enterprise 4, I remember. And that's how we started our journey in cybersecurity. And there's no easy job, especially, like Prof said that, to run a business, especially 24/7, we require a deep pocket. But of course, we are grateful enough that, Malaysian, so happened back then, Bank Negara also have their GPRS, stating that, their system need to be monitored, and that's how we venture into go to the market, knock to the door, convince them, some of them we charge them relatively quite cheap, and that's how we get our customers. We sweep the market for corporate sector, and that's how I started the business, So what motivates me? I think, over the year, I see that, we can really make lots of money, in cybersecurity business. You really work very, very hard. Hence, I think this is a real motivation because, like I said, even I'm IT graduate, but I do not really pursue my technical knowledge very much in cybersecurity, but I really go into the business in the cybersecurity. Okay, so and that's how I get motivated on that. Sweet and short.
Yeah. So I guess I'll move on to the next question, which would be, so what do you guys think about the work-life balance of the industry from your experience? How is the work-life balance for you guys? So Mr. Allen, you can go.
Okay, yeah, I think probably, I will just continue. Myself, at my age, I think I'm probably the eldest among all, or maybe Prof will be, I'm not sure. But I think, life is short, and I always think that, I've been working hard for the past 30 years, and right now I really have a very good work-life balance in terms of my career and my business. Two things to think about, if you're in a business that you are working for bank and you're running operation, I think your work life may not be balanced. I'm sure Lau will agree with me. That's why I say I'm not going back to bank anymore, because when you run operation, and anything, the ATM down, the network down, I'm sure your user will come and knock to your door even though midnight. That's why I've seen a lot of people who run operations, they are under tremendous pressure. So likewise, when 10, 20 years ago, when I run the 24/7 security operations center, monitoring clients' network, I really cannot sleep very well because, if they are hacked, I'll be deep shit, okay? And the CIO back then, or CISO back then, told me that, if they are hacked, he's in deep shit, he'll pull me along, so that we go to the shit together, because why? I'm monitoring for them. So I tell my team, basically, you need to work very hard to ensure, of course, there's no proof, but sometimes I really cannot sleep because sometimes my event collector, is down. So there's no event being collected, things like that. So my operation manager report to me, I scratch my head, and, so this is why. But of course, after the company being sold and then we formed this company, I decided not to do 24/7 anymore. I'll rather focus on security consultation, pen test, solution. I think I sleep better, and with the team is getting bigger and bigger. Also, right now, it's time for me to actually think strategy rather than operation. At the same time, also, I really love when during weekend I really have a work-life balance. And if I'm not to work, I try not to work. So that's about me.
All right. How about Mr. Law?
Basically, I would say it's along that line, right? So when you're young, you're supposed to learn a lot of things, right? You have the vitality, you have the energy to do things instead of, okay, so probably for some of you guys, students especially, you can have lots of energy to play your games, or you don't sleep at night to play your games sometimes, right? You can use that same energy to try to learn up, to do the operations work, to do the real technical work, to understand how things work. And then with all of those knowledge, which is the same for me, I gather all of those knowledge. I learn from other people who do operations. Sometimes I be with them, then I learn up, oh, okay, these things you need time to learn up. The more you be together with them, then you can pick those experiences up. Those will help you later in life from a strategy type of thinking, like what Alan mentioned just now, right? So as a chief in a company, that's what your job would mainly be. So from your experiences of operations, you think from a strategic way how you want to manage all of these things. So yeah, I would say that's the way to go. You have the vitality now, so don't waste that. You go and gather as much knowledge as possible. It will help you very, very much later on in life.
All right, thank you, Mr. Long. So on to Dr. Jas.
So how do we balance? I think the challenge that I have had is how to balance the life and the career and the work and things like that in cybersecurity. The answer to that is it's not always balanced. Sometimes a lot of times are needed at work, especially starting up new businesses, new unit, as well as new concepts. It has you have to commit a lot more time, energy, thoughts. Sometimes even while you sleep, you have to think. Your brain is still working, to solve certain issues. So it is not always balanced. I guess what keeps me going is the positive mind, either balance or either a good time during where I got a little bit of time or busy time. I always keep on thinking positive, that there will always be something good inside that. Even in the difficulties, there are also happiness, and even during the happiness, there are also sadness. So to me, the inner part is important to cope with this situation, because mind you, in cybersecurity, a lot of situations are not constant. Yeah, it's unpredictable. Sometimes we need to adjust and constantly relearn new areas as threats are dynamics. So it's a lot of learning and unlearning and relearning to do. It's tiring though. It's sometimes you just feel like you just want to take a rest. But that's the challenge of this profession. It's exciting because it's dynamics, but after many years, it can worn you out, and you may, like Ellen said, sometimes you just want just to take a break and just hands off. So I think that's it. Yeah.
All right, thank you for this section. Thank you for your insightful session about your experiences in the cybersecurity industry. So moving on, we'll be discussing about how to get started in the cybersecurity industry and what fields are there. So this topic would be more interested, students would be more interested. So if you guys would like to ask questions, there is a Q&A section inside this Zoom webinar that you can ask anything you want. So let me ask the first question would be, so being leaders in cybersecurity, what would you advise our audiences here on how to get started in cybersecurity? Let's start with you, Dr. Jas.
Okay, to me, to start with, to be in cybersecurity is you must like the profession. I think you should be a person that inquisitive. You like to explore, and you not just want to take word for word. You just believe what people say. You like to experiment. You like to find your own time and try it out. You want to be hands-on. You want to be able to be in control to a certain extent. So you must have that drive of be able to work independently and continue to upgrade yourself continuously. If you have this willpower, I think you will be a very successful cybersecurity professionals. And the challenge now is that many perception on the ground at the moment is, when they talk about cybersecurity professionals, is all about technical centric issues and technical centric jobs. It is not. In fact, cybersecurity, that's why I call this my project cyber e-security and privacy. Cybersecurity and privacy is a huge domain that needs us to tackle the issues from cradle to heaven, from the beginning of the life until while you are moving to heaven. There are still things that we need to sort it out. So it is a huge issues which sometimes or at many instances may not be a technical issue. So having to have a conception that you have to be a very strong in mathematics and physics in order to be successful in this, I think that is not quite right. I think you have to be able to balance your thoughts 360 degrees. I think this is the way to go. You are able to handle the human issues, people factors, the process issues, which is the organizational governance and compliances policies, as well as the technological issues. If you are able to balance all these three into you, then you choose which one that is closer to your heart and be the best at it. That is the key. You must be the best at one, not all. Nobody can be the best at everything. Impossible. So choose what is closer to your heart. How do you know what that subject or that issues or that specialization is close to your heart? When you spend time, you forget about your food, you forget about your holidays, you forget about your girlfriend or even your boyfriend. You miss your dates, you miss your a lot of things, and you just find that the days are going by too fast. That is the area that you need to stay on deeper and deeper for you to be successful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll pass it to Mr. Allen.
Well said, that's very true. We have seen many people working in organization and realize that, the passion of cybersecurity lies within their heart. If you are someone that would love to actually explore new technology like new toy, I'm sure you will be very successful. But, as versus those people who always ask a company to send them for training, is there any reference book to study and things like that, then we find that the growth for this group of people, it will be slower because they are very dependent and they are not aggressive. I would say they are passive in exploring technology. Because you see, there's no single college or single university that you have a bachelor of cybersecurity. No such thing. It's Bachelor of Science. You are computer science study or IT studies. And cybersecurity is only part of the course, and it's not a major course. So imagine when you come out in a field, in a market, then what you should think is where do you start from? It's very difficult. And to be frank, during the course, then when you touch base with cybersecurity, then you could see that you probably study, security policy or security management, or even though some security technology like firewall, or even though you may even get involved in some of the threat intel or pen test, then see which area you are expert, you love to do, like what Prof just said, that you can forget about your mail, whichever. Then when you come out and just join those company and then get yourself excel and expertise. But of course, there's no single cybersecurity company that can encompass everything, to be frank. Even though today we can do so much, there are still many areas that we can't do. So today, if you were to join us, then perhaps you'll be master in penetration testing, or you probably will become a very good firewall engineer, but you may not be someone that are good in the threat intel or probably in a security analyst, because currently I don't run 24/7 security operations center anymore. And moreover, you look at that, there's no way you can be jack of all trades. You must specialize. Some people say, I know everything. That means you know nothing, because there's always a very technical job, and there's non-technical job. Non-technical job, you're dealing with people like, those big four. They do compliance, they do, guidelines, policies, whichever. And that is those people who really love to go into that. But there are one area that people say, I cannot write. I'm a good techie, I can only do firewall installation, things like that. Then you should go to the other area, then you grow yourself to become maybe a security architect, whichever. Because jack of all trades, it's totally useless because you can't be possibly. I mean, you see, there are, you know, in a bank there are two positions: head of IT security and CISO. And then you may be confused why there's a CISO and head of IT security. What's the difference? One is on operation. That means this IT security head take charge of all the security operation in an organization. Likewise, like Mr. Law, he take charge of all the company strategy, company policies, governance, you know, as far as the cybersecurity is concerned. So that's the two different roles. And coming back to the profession that you should look into it, I'm sure there are many areas. Well, of course, probably I will address it in the next question by Jasper. Okay, I'm done. Thanks.
All right, Mr. Law.
Jasper, before you move to Law, Mr. Law, I just want to update Alan a bit. There is now Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity. I think your days we didn't have yet, but now many universities are offering Bachelor of Science or even Bachelor of Cybersecurity. I think I know Asia Pacific University has that. Unimai in Cyberjaya has that. And I think many more universities nowadays are offering bachelor or even at master's level and PhD level in cybersecurity.
Oh, interesting. Seriously, I don't know. Yeah.
All right. So, Mr. Law.
Okay, I'm going to say something very, very similar to what Professor Jazz and Alan have mentioned just now. So for me, the number one thing is passion. What wakes you up in the morning? What makes you want to do this job to go and do this job every day, right? So I would say passion is the number one thing that you need to do it. Like what Alan has mentioned in breadth, in deep just now, is that cybersecurity is a very, very broad area. There are many areas that you can look into, right? So if you're good at talking, then yes, maybe you want to do the consultancy piece, whereby your technical skills are not strong. So it doesn't mean that if you are not strong in some areas, you cannot go into cybersecurity, right? If you're more technically inclined, then yes, go for it. Do more technical stuff. You would like to learn more about that one. So if you are passionate enough, you'll be a self-starter. So there's a lot of young people who come and ask me, how do I get started in this one? I mean, it might sound very mean for me to say this, but I would say if you need to ask, then probably it's not your liking already. Although I would say the best advice that I can give you, you have the best tools nowadays. It's called Google. Last time we only had books and our seniors, right? So my time, I would say we have to go and ask, but you have that inquisitive nature to go and ask. But nowadays, the first thing that you should do, I think you do it for your homeworks and whatever not, you Google it first, right? So I would say if you have enough passion, if you have not enough inquisitivity, you will Google it first and you will know what you need to do already. But if you are really stuck in something, then you say, how do I solve this issue? How do I do this? How do I do that? That's the type of question that you ask, not how do I get into cybersecurity. I'll just do a little bit of self-promotion if you allow me, right? If you go to my LinkedIn page, I actually have, I found a video that talks what are the fields in cybersecurity and why you cannot be jack of all trades, right? Because you will really be master of none. So I would say if you try to find what you're good at, and that would be your niche. So similarly, like me, like Alan mentioned just now, why the CISO don't look at technical? Because I'm not good at technical. I don't have the technical skills. My interest is not there. My interest is more on strategy. My interest is more on consultancy. I like to talk to people. I like to understand what's their problem and how I can resolve them. I like to solve puzzles. So you give me a problem, I'll solve the puzzle for you. So that's why I'm more on the non-technical side.
All right. So I'll move to one of the Q&A questions would be, do you think that certifications are essential? And if they are, what certifications are a must for fresh graduates? Anyone would like to take this first?
Actually, I'm about to type to reply. Anyway, since my typing skill is lower than the answer, the question. Anyway, I think the certification is actually it all depends. It all depends. For big organization where they are very much into certification, then it is important. And certification is also important for a company, to bid for the project. Say, for instance, today, if I were to bid into a big company project, then they will put out a tenders requirement that I need to have CISSP in my team, CCSP, I need to have GPAN, I need to have all these CRAS approved, a pen tester, then it's needed. But of course, to certain people, the certification is not needed because I have a skill set, then no need. So that's why I say the answer is it all depends. But in general, it requires, because it will help the company to actually bid for the project, or else I may tell them I have the best pen tester behind. I really have, but end of the day, if they are not certified, then customers say, you sure they can do a job or not? In fact, some of the pen tester, they don't even have CISSP, they don't even have GPAN, but they perform better than those people who really have it. But in the corporate world, sometimes it's very cruel. There's no choice, because in a tender spec or RFP stated that all this certification is needed. And if I don't have one, even though I have a best team in Malaysia or the whole region, I don't think I will be qualified to get a job as well. So please go for it when you are young and you can.
All right. How about you, Dr. Jas or Mr. Long? Who would like to go first?
Yeah, Mr. Okay. Can you repeat the question again?
The question would be: basically, is cybersecurity certifications essential?
Certification.
And
okay.
if they are, which one is a must
Okay.
for fresh graduates?
Okay. To me, certification has become a trend. I think this is one of my regrets of being in Cybersecurity Malaysia. When I set up Cybersecurity Malaysia, then there was no one qualifies, and it was very difficult to find competent person in doing cybersecurity job. And many are talking about they can do a lot. So we have no basis of knowing exactly whether they have the real skill set. So I encouraged certification as a national, as an encouragement at a national level. So certification like CISSP, so any certification in that matter that can demonstrate your expertise or your competency in that area is welcome. So the intention that I have then was not really as a barrier of entry, but to do the job. But it's a lot more looking into some general guideline as how good you are to do that particular job. That's it. It's nothing more than that. But I believe now, to my sadness, something which I feel that if God gives me another chance and turn around, then I will turn it around. Now certification has become a barrier to entry. Without certification, you cannot even go into a tender. You cannot do the job. And then the certification that are being asked in a tender and in the job, in a specific job, sometimes are so expensive and so absurd. In other words, the difference between one certification and the other is not so much, but the way you treat it as such, that without this, that you become so regimented, just like an engineer, without the IR, you cannot sign, you cannot. So, to me, engineering profession is fine because it has a law that is backing it up because of the issue of safety of the design and something like that. But in cybersecurity, the creative minds are needed, actually, much more than just the certification. Having a certification, but you don't have a creative mind to look into it from a different perspective, you will be defeated by the hackers at any time. So to my regret, this has become a worship and condition. So that has happened. So what should you do as a student? You should take the initiative to take the cheapest yet recognizable certification in cybersecurity before you graduate, as much as you can, because this will ensure your employability when you graduate. Because now, when you go into interviews, if you have the certification, it gives you a greater chance to be absorbed inside the organization. So what kind of certification is cheap? Look around. Don't go for the most expensive one, but don't go for something which is not heard of also. That is also to the another extreme. Go for something simple, CompTIA, Security Plus, something that you can, within your affordability, or CISA, depending on your inclination. If you are a technical guy, you go for technical oriented certification, which give you a hands-on credential. But if you are a conceptual guy, a mind guy, you go into that management or a process level certification like CISA or something like that. And CISSP is something you need to get later once you have some experiences. So this is how you should you play with it. Don't be trapped with certification game too much, but try to balance it out. I think this is a new phenomenon that has happened, and you need to get yourself ready.
All right, Mr. Wong.
Okay, so fortunately, unfortunately, I think these certs or your degree for that matter, it's a ruler that needs to be there, unfortunately, right? Fortunately, unfortunately, that there needs to be a ruler, right? It doesn't mean that if you have a degree, then you're very good at something. The same thing can be said for these certifications. Maybe you are very good at taking exams, so that's why you can go for it. So I have colleagues who don't have to study. Maybe they just study 2-3 days just before the exam and they can pass with flying colors. At the same time, I'm not saying that certifications are not useful. It can help you understand things, put your mind into a better perspective of what is going on in the industry, what you need to know. Those certifications are very good, right? That being said, I've also met many cybersecurity professionals who are not cybersecurity trained. The best example that shocked me actually, there was in one of cybersecurity events, I met somebody from, if I'm not mistaken, from Italy. His degree is actually classical opera, but his job now is a cybersecurity incident responder, and he's one of the best in the country, in his country. So, like I said, unfortunately, companies need some form of measurements to know whether you're good at something or not. So these certifications will just say, okay, you do have probably some talent in this one. That's why we can hire you for this position. But I would say that is not the only criteria that you should be measured at. For me, I don't put certification as a hiring condition, but some companies I know, actually I've also interviewed for some companies that they say, you must have CISA, then only that I'll hire you. You must have CISP, then only I'll hire you. So I've lost those opportunities, but it doesn't mean that I'm not good. It's just that that's how the company works. So like Professor Jasri, fortunately, unfortunately, this is how the world works. These certifications get you through the door, but it is what you are really passionate about, then that can make you succeed.
All right.
Can I, Jasper? Can I comment a little bit of?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Go for it.
Triggers me when Law says about opera, the soap opera guy, So that actually the crux of cybersecurity professionals. If to be the best, you must have the creative mind. Actually, the most important part is creative mind. Whether your creative mind is applied in the technical sense, or that creative mind is applied in the governance and compliance sense, or that creative mind is applied in the educational sense, because cybersecurity awareness, cybersecurity training is a part of education ecosystem. So that creative mind is very important for you to become the best. Both sides, as a hackers as well as someone who's going to prevent hackers to come in. So that nurturing of creative mind is important. That's why I want to mention to you guys that even cybersecurity landscape, let me, SPC, we even welcomes a filmmaker. I want to have a nice film. You know, when I saw Matrix, I don't think many people understand what it's all about. Unless if you have a background of digital communication, you can appreciate Matrix better than the ordinary guy. So what I'm saying now is that there's a lot of layers between technical and human that mixed up a lot of cyber crimes are not addressed. And how do you address this? You need to have a lot more creative mind presenting those issues, presenting the do and don'ts and the solutions in a much more creative, interesting, edutainment way that is transcend the PowerPoints. So I think that's the message that I want to get across. Thank you.
All right. So adding on to what you guys mentioned about the opera person, so most of our audiences are very curious on this topic in particular. So how would you advise in the audience how someone without an IT or cybersecurity background or even a degree start in cybersecurity? Would you like to take it first, Dr. Jeff?
Okay, I'd like to, since I was a graduate of the US, I also I have a degree from the United States in an engineering degree, and I also a master's degree from University of London in London, and then I have my PhD from Malaysia, from the Defense University. So I got to go through 3 educational systems here, but I still like US because it has the flexibility of merging 2 fields or 3 fields for that matter into a new evolution of career. For example, like if a person is in management, it can still go into technical subject like a cybersecurity with some courses that they have to go through. So what I'm saying here again is that cybersecurity field is open. So it is not just only addressing to a specific needs, specific skill set. To me, is broader than that, because what actually the bottom line of what cybersecurity is all about is to protect the information. That's one, either for the business or for individual. The other one is to reduce or to eliminate the cyber crimes. You know, these are the 2 fundamentals that need to happen in our society. So all this requires as many resources as possible, whether you are a technical guy or whether you are a creative art guy, because the convergence of art and science will make you the best. Take my word. If you have an art at the beginning, it's a little bit more difficult, but you can learn the technology and the sciences part at the later stage. Yeah, a little bit harder, but it's not impossible. And if you are in the science part, don't be too egoistic. Go into the creative mind part, because combining the 2 fields, the creative mind and the science mind, is actually the nature how God creates us. Our brains here is balanced by the 2, the science and the art. Only in Malaysia, our education system segregates the science and the arts like oil and water. I think that's a flaw. That's a gap that is happening in our education system. But don't take it as is. We can converge it, merge the 2. You become excel. Thank you.
All right, I guess I'll pass it to Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen, you're muted.
As I mentioned just now, we can't be a jack of all trades, you know. So in general, I think those IT students, when they are graduating, actually they can actually look into a few areas to start off with their career in this area. As cybersecurity's field is quite huge, and you are unable to master or specialize in every of them. So you can think of area like application security. That means you may be working in the software house, you know, and you will start to actually develop the software based on the SecOps dev, you know, and whichever, so that you start developing software from a security structure way. And or second one is you can actually also focus your area in data loss, because with digitization and with people talk about PDPA or GPRS, overall, I think the data loss is one area that you can actually specialize in. A lot of Big Four is hiring data loss specialists in organization. Forensic is another area that you can look into, because right now with so much of the break-in, breach, and incident response is the area that many organizations looking for. And also network security, that's where you can master yourself with in terms of your routers, firewall, those network security devices. And if you are able to master most of the technology, then you can also become a security architect, where you can start to help organization to design, the structure, secure ways of for the whole network, so that you know where to place a firewall, how to put a DMZ and things like that, where a solution to be able to be placed. Okay, and one of the area which is also getting hot nowadays is actually on the threat intelligence, because this is where you are able to work with some multinational company where they have a very strong threat intel, and you're able to interpret this and apply organization. That will be very helpful. Of course, last but not least is on the vulnerability management or pen test. That's where area that we are in. You can be very specialized in as one of the top-notch pen tester in Malaysia. To be frank, this technical job will bring you also a very, very high salary, because not many people can do a good pen testing job. To be frank, we have too many script kiddies in the market, and even though you are certified with CH or whichever, we notice that the skill set is not there, as compared with overseas. That's why we are also looking for the area. So these are the few areas that you can consider, in the spectrum of cybersecurity, so that you can actually start with something and then you grow from one field to the other. Of course, to grow, you require a few years. Just like DLP itself is a very huge area, because you need to talk about data governance, data structure, data steward, and this area is not like I work few months, then I can be a specialty on that. No, there's no way. You got to be, and those Big Four really pay high for this kind of position, because they help organization to structure their data. Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Law.
Okay, so I'll just digress a bit, come back to the same thing. So as long as the starting point is always passion for me, right? So it doesn't matter which field that you are studying now or what you're good at. Like we all mentioned just now, cybersecurity is very, very broad. So then that gives you the opportunity to start from something that you are very familiar with, very good at. Then you can venture out into other things, right? At the same time, when you venture into that specific area in cybersecurity, you need to look at the other areas as well. So the more you understand, the more you know, then that's how you get into the field, right? As mentioned, like we all talk about just now. So if you're non-technical, doesn't mean that you don't bother about the technical side of things. Once you can combine both of these areas, you actually get better. So like for myself, I am not a technical person, but for me to come up a strategy, for me to come up with policies, what should be protected, how it should be protected in a company, I need to talk to the technical guys. Hey, how do you do your day-to-day work? If I ask you to do something, a new way of doing something, am I hindering you or am I making you work more efficiently? So you need to understand both worlds and to make your job better, right? So being very meticulous in things, let's say your accounting background, you're meticulous with numbers, right? So those how to say, talent, you can use it to look at the same things. Like you can venture probably into forensics. There are digital forensics, which you need to look into specific things, very, very meticulous into specific areas. So your talent can help you in that sense. So if you're very good at something, maybe you want to start in that area first, then you venture out into other things. It will make you better and better only. So again, I reference back to that, to the video that I mentioned just now, because cybersecurity is so broad. You just pick one area, start with that, then you how to say, try to experience the other areas, then you will find out more and more. Okay, I'm good. I'm very good in this area, but if I know this one, then it will make me better. If I know another area, then I'll be better in cybersecurity as a whole.
All right, thank you. So here's one of the questions would be, so cybersecurity is often either being creative, or technical, or being knowledgeable. But in your experiences as leaders in the industry, what do you think about the importance of soft skills in cybersecurity? How about Mr. Law? Can you go first?
Okay. I think it depends on the field that you want to venture in, right? I think for the non-technical ones, the soft skills are very, very important. For the technical people, I have known many colleagues whereby they would rather face a computer screen than talk to other people, which is fine, right? Because that's the area of specialty, that's their talent, that's what they like to do. They don't like to talk to people. I just want to, talk to the PC or talk to the program, talk to talk to the security solution that where I'm working with. But in general, I would say soft skill it's mandatory that you need to talk to other people, because you need to explain your work to the other people. At the same time, if you're very good at doing this, then you can do something like what I'm doing now. You need to talk to everyone to understand, okay, what are your issues, how I can help to solve your problems. At the same time, also explaining how my vision or how I want to help the company. What are the things that you need to do? I need to explain all of those things very in a way that you can understand it properly. So soft skill is very important, but it's I wouldn't say it's a must. There are some jobs which you don't need that, because your only work is just to face a computer, like the MSS business that Alan mentioned just now. You're not customer facing. You're just facing the computer and you're just looking at alerts. You're trying to resolve the problems. You don't need to talk to anyone. But there are some instances whereby you look at the alert, oh, you need to call that person up to say, okay, did you do this and whatever not. So there are elements of the soft skill that's required, but it depends on the field that you choose.
Mr. Allen?
I think soft skill is required for most of the jobs. Of course, you don't feel sad if some people tends to have no soft skill, because you can't communicate with people, and then your communication wasn't that good. You cannot articulate an issue correctly. Hence, you will be always remain in the back room. So just such as my team, I do have a team of pen tester. So some pen tester are technically sound, but they just can't communicate well with the client. So that their job is to do pen tests and then until report. And then, those people who have better soft skill, then they will be facing the client, because, we never get bad communicators, to communicate with our client. That will worsen the situation, especially, when we are dealing with cybersecurity. I'm sure that we have a lot of crises, a lot of disagreement, things like that. But as a person, we need to have a soft skill. And when you grow to the higher level in a corporate sector, in a corporate world, one day you become a CISO, just like Lau. And the soft skill is very, very important, because as a CISO, you must be able to communicate with your IT department on the area of which is non-compliance. And then, at the same time also, you probably will advise the board of directors, as a CISO, what the company shall do moving forward, for when it comes to cybersecurity strategy, and even though tactical issue and actionable issues. And if you are unable to do that, and you will be failed to become a CISO, just like CIO. You see, Chief Information Officer and IT head, they are or IT managers are totally different role, because IT manager is a junior position that they'll do all the IT administration thing, that software development, managing the software team or IT operation. But CIO is the person who actually communicate with the IT team. At the same time, they are able to articulate to the board of directors what will be the strategy for the whole IT. And also they need to be able to understand the business requirement. At the same time, they must bring how are we able to digitalize our solution, so that our system, so that we are able to meet the business requirement. So hence, nowadays you can see a lot of CIO, because they must be able to communicate with the business unit, board of directors, CEO, at the same time also a technical team. Hence, when you're growing higher in the corporate ladder, soft skill is very, very important. That's why you can see even some of people, like when they're reaching age 50, they are still stationed as a back end as a what you call as a senior engineer or specialist, you know, because these people, they will tell us, leave me alone. I'm not going to communicate with people. But some people are young, you know, like Lau, he has managed to climb, you know, in a corporate ladder as a CISO. That's very successful and very rare, you know. So that's why this is important, based on my opinion.
All right, thank you. How about Dr. Jas?
Yeah, soft skills, of course, soft skill is important, and hard skill is also important. I think the best equation is to balance both. You are able to comprehend the technical part, you are a hands-on guy, and you are able to be converse with peers downward as well as upward in terms of hierarchy in the organization. I mean, that's the ideal, but not everybody can have all this in one. So you need to choose. Sometimes you have no choice but to choose your strength. If your strength is not in the soft skill, of course you need to work on developing it. You cannot just, just let it be. You have to improve, because as you go up the ladder in the organization hierarchy, you need to have a stronger soft skill, because you are dealing with trust management, because you are dealing with how much your boss trusts you and how much you are able to convince them that you can be trusted. So it requires a soft skill as well as the demonstrations of the facts that you can do it. Yeah. But technology has also enabled those who are not good with the soft skill. This is what I call uh, virtualization as areas. This is something like augmented reality, virtual reality. You can use all these three-dimensional objects, images, to illustrate importance or message that you want to relay to your peers, or even to the top management, or to whoever that's supposed to be. So so that skills is also a good skills to be nowadays, yeah, to be embraced by cybersecurity professionals, because as a cybersecurity professionals, you need to deal with problems. Now, how do you convey the problems and to solve the problems? So it's all about soft skill. It's all about communication skill. It's all about being able to impress your whoever that you are talking to about the subject matter. I give you one example. And this is also, to me, my general observation. We are a community of cybersecurity professionals. Many of us, actually, we are not good at soft skills. That's why, that is why a lot of cybersecurity problems remains at the technical level. It never goes out from that technical domain to the management or even to the board. Only selected few that goes to the board. And sometimes the board, the management, and the technical guys are disconnected. At the technical level, it is so intense. It's like life and death. But when it goes up, it was not reflected that way. It was not consistently reflected at that level. So that definitely there is a gap there. So this soft skill is needed to convey these messages properly, to dilute technical centric information into a management and business specific information that can be appreciated by management and the board. So things like this, this skill need to be acquired by most of you guys in dealings with cybersecurity issues and problems.
All right, thank you, Dr. Jas. So I hope everyone has an insightful session from learning how to get started in the cybersecurity industry, and I hope you guys learned something interesting. So up next, we'll be having Mr. Alan C. and Dr. Hussein Jasri, along with Mr. Ong Yao Seng, on the next topic of cybersecurity during the COVID-19 crisis.
Hi, Jasper.
Alright, so Mr. Ong, you can start.
Okay. Hi, Professor Dr. Jess, Ellen. Hi. Okay, nice to meet you online. Okay, and good afternoon to all the audience here in this event. Okay, I will take over to moderate this topic about cybersecurity during the COVID-19 crisis. Okay, so it has been 1 year and 1 month if you look at the date today, because in 2020, March 18, Malaysia began to implement the first movement control order, MCO, okay, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And the business social education activities were paused for a while, if you remember at the time. I remember clearly because my son was during the holiday and then he can continue his holiday. So after a week, the school or even the business, the activity started to gradually moving towards online and to continue their business. Okay, so it was still a bad, it was and it is still a bad experience for those business owners nowadays. Okay, to face such a sudden change to the new norm. Okay, so however, on the other hand, personally, I observed that the positive side of this pandemic, because knowing that before this pandemic, there are a lot of digitization or digital transformation in Malaysia is a bit slow. Okay, and this pandemic actually is spurred the digital transformation in our country faster than ever. Okay, this is what I realized. Okay, especially in the industry and also in education. Okay, before the pandemic, there were still large number of Malaysians that did not believe in e-wallet, and also people still like the experience of physical shopping. Only youngster like to go online at the time. Okay, and also I myself, I also didn't believe that people will buy fresh chicken online. Okay, even though yes, there are somebody selling that, but I personally I don't feel comfortable to buy fresh food from online. Okay, and also before the pandemic, also the schools wanted to go for digital, but still a lot of holdback. Okay, due to many reasons. It can be the competency from the teachers, and teachers need to handle too many things. So it actually hold back a lot of schools not able to go for digitization. Okay, and
Hold on, I think Mr. Ong is frozen. Sorry, give us a moment to deal with this technical difficulty. Mr. Ong, are you back?
You're muted.
you can hear me now?
Yeah, can.
Yeah. Okay. So that line was dropped just now. Okay. So with the new norm, okay, we are facing new challenges. Okay, which is a trend of the cyber attack due to a restriction of face-to-face interaction. You go to banks last time, you do KYC, all this become electronic now. Okay, and with all these changes, okay, I would like to pose the first question to the panelists to share with us. Okay, first, what would be the new targets for those attackers during the pandemic? Okay, because this pandemic, this crisis, what would be those new targets for those attackers, and what are their motive, and what kind of techniques will these attackers use to achieve the objective, to compromise their target? Alan, from your opinion.
Okay, thanks, Ong. If you go through the some of the news that that we have accumulated over the past 1 year, healthcare industry is one of the industry that has been badly affected, especially not in our country, but in overseas. Many healthcare record has been compromised, and hence this is one of the target market that COVID attackers are targeting at. And the other one is also, I'm sure you know that last year there also vulnerability relates to Zoom call. So video communication also are one of the area that attackers are also attacking, because by knowing that everyone are highly dependent on video comm for their meetings, and this has never been happened before. I'm sure every one of us have a drastic change in our habit. Those days, if I invite my client for con call, they will say, you're not sincere in doing business. Right now, I think it become a very common norm for organization to do any formal presentation. Fastest ways is go through the con call. So this also another attack vectors for attackers, I think, which I observed for past 9 to 12 months. And the other one is also the online retailers. The online retailer, because of the growth and also the surge in the business for online retailing, online, and hence, I mean, like you and me, I never expect to order fresh fruits or even chickens, or even though frozen foods from a net, but I've been doing it, during MCO time, simply because it's convenient and also it's promising as well. So because of that, there are many potential or hackers are targeting at those sites, hopefully, and then to gain their financial gain from there. And those are targeting on online retailers are mainly DDoS, which means if I flood your website and your website is crippled, and then you're going to pay me a fees, or else I will continue to do DDoS on that, or even account takeover, bad bots, you abusing the website and things like that. And of course, last but not least, SME are at high risk, especially work from home. Working from home actually created new forms of vectors of attackers, because unlike those big organizations where they are able to provide their employee corporate laptop or even corporate computer so that they can actually bring to work from home. And when it's corporate issue, means that they have been installed with at least endpoint protection within, and at least you know that they are protected. And shifting the cybersecurity from a core system, especially in-house, to remote is a big challenge for organization. And of course, the biggest challenge is to SME, because SME is a sector where they have very limited budget, they have very limited awareness, and also at the same time, they also have a very limited expertise and resources to deal with those cybersecurity breach. Hence, they are the easy target. Now, when talk about SME, some people may think that it's SME. Why do they need to target them? Because not much money, might as well target big bank. The answer is so wrong, because why? To target a bank and government is very, very difficult jobs. Multiple layer of firewall, endpoint protection here and there is not easy. SME is a very easy target, because for the last couple of months during the MCO, some of my neighbors, in my office, they are doing retail business. They distribute cosmetic, all the big brands they carry, and they are the distributor. So the company only about 50 staff, but it could be multi-million revenue company, because they carry multiple brands of the branded cosmetic, like Kose or whichever. And one day they come to me and ask me, hey, I need to check with you. If my staff has transferred the money over already, do you think I can still take it back, or can I recall it back? I say, once it's transferred, there's no way you are able to take it back. Or I say, how much? Actually, all three transactions that we have made contributed to about 500,000, $500,000 lost. To hack to a bank for $500,000, I think is difficult. To hack to a typical SME company where they do maybe tens of millions of business, 50 staff, no IT department, HR take care of IT. It's easy. Why? How do they get that? Because I'm sure this is quite common, because they receive a phishing email asking, from their principal in Japan. Of course, principal in Japan means that, say for example, Kosei will write to you, hey, please bank in to please pay this invoice to this account. But unfortunately, someone hacked to the system and then be able to spoof the email of the supplier and then ask them to pay to a different account. And the email seems to be the same one from the principal, and then they really pay to other accounts. And then once they pay without knowingly, this is wrong account. And altogether, there are 3 transactions. Until the principal chased them for money, then they realize that, oh, I'm paying to the wrong account. And they asked for help. And I told them, no, there's no way you are able to. So typically, this is an example that happened in SME and also many big companies. I'm sure if you're in the market, we know it happens. So this is typical way of targeting to SME. Of course, you ask me what are the ways and what are the tactics. I'm sure phishing is one of the way. Spoofing email is one of the way. And people are very low awareness of the phishing. Even though big corporate, when we do a phishing test, sometimes the first time 50% of them will fail. Let alone those small company where the people are not so technology savvy. So and then they get malware, they get ransomware. Their server got encrypted. They got no way to do. And the worst thing is that the backup is in the same line, in the same network. And backup also being encrypted. So typically, this is very common, and this happened before and after the COVID as well. But it is more easy and more prominent right now because people are working from home, and you're working from home, especially SME. Your endpoint was not protected with any good technology, and then it attracts a malware to be installed. And the moment you bring the laptop back to office, you plug into your network, and that's how the malware propagate in the network and start to infect the machine internally. Then that's how the breach occurs. So I think these are typical area, and these are typical scenario and the incident that we noticed that during COVID it happens, and it happens in Malaysia also quite frequently.
Thank you, Alan. Yeah, I totally agree on the SME incidents you mentioned before, because I personally received, at least I think not even before the pandemic, I received a lot of calls from my friends saying that they send the PO, the PDF, the commercial documents to the other party, and someone hijacked their PDF and just do some changes on the account. And some of them actually they are careful enough to observe the difference, and then they block this thing to happen. But unfortunately, some of them they've gone through, so they have to pay for the those losses. Okay, so this is what happened for SME. Yeah, correct.
To add on to this is internal control. Now, if this is happening to a bank, it will not happen. Why? Because bank have a control. To change any information, account information, required a form to be filled up and approved by the banks. And so that, the bank will not simply accept that, changing of payment or whichever. But SME in a market, where they don't have this kind of control. Okay, so people ask of finance, hey, please bank to the account, and without knowingly, this could be a phish email, and you just bank in. But for big corporate, that they have a process in place. Any changes in the company information like bank account, address, or whichever email has to go through a process, and for the procurement to approve or finance to approve. Then only the payment will be made. That's why this really happened in SME, and many times I've seen really people paying for that. Tens of thousands or 100,000. It really happens.
Yeah. And also I found that in Malaysia, like the way to protect the digital documents such as digital signature is not really popular in Malaysia for SME to use it to protect their document in the sense of the genuine of the document. So they don't have this kind of awareness. So this could be one of the reasons why they didn't realize that the document had been changed. Okay. So how about the opinion from Prof. Jess? So what is your view on this those crises during pandemic crisis, what are those cybersecurity issues you have been hearing from your clients, from your friends about cybersecurity issues, incidents?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Basically, what has been described by Alan is something that is commonly happening. On top of that, I think COVID situation has enlarged the online footings from pre-COVID situation. So that's the way I look at these issues of attacks and cyber crimes. It comes like of a proportion of the base. As the base get enlarged, then you will have to expect a lot more attacks as well as crimes to be committed. So meaning to say, the scammers will be more aggressive and they have a lot more frontal to maneuver with to gain their opportunity to do whatever they like. To expand from what Ellen has said, some of the issues are basically issues that like the use of Facebook, for instance, like a proper records of who is the originator of Facebook, of that particular social media, was not properly recorded. And then when something happened, or let's say like your Facebook is being hijacked, the first thing that the Facebook company will ask is, can you provide us the email? The email that they are referring to is the official email when the account was created. And then when you dig into it, and then you find that the one that is creating the Facebook page was no longer there, or you cannot find them anymore. And then how are you going to address this issue with the Facebook? Facebook will not trust you because they say you are not who you are, and then you cannot communicate with Facebook because you don't have the password, the access of the email that you use to initiate your creating of your service at the initial stage. So this basically may not be a real. It could be contributed by hackers by hijacking your asset, your in this context, your Facebook page. But it is also rectifiable, because if you have a proper records of who initiated it, and then what are the emails, what are the who are the originator that has been registered as the official contact point, and you keep the technical contact point and the organizational contact point properly, then this problem can be rectified, because Facebook can return back the ownership to you if you have all those credentials. So see, things are becoming more complex now. With the COVID pandemic, everyone is working from home, or basically from remote areas, because we want to avoid a crowd. We don't want to be the contributor to the crowd puller. So we work from home or from remote area. Then this will expose our PC or our laptops or our mobile phones into a lot more vulnerability, because these endpoints are easier to attack, as Alan said, as compared to the hardcore corporate system. So now, how do you reach to the hardcore corporate system easier? Not by attacking the hardcore corporate system. It's just like a warfare. If you want to conquer a city, you don't attack through the front door of the bastion that has been prepared for you. There's no way for you to win. So what they do, they will go around and look for who are the employers of this, say like company A or company B or company C. They profile you. Is it difficult to profile? It's not difficult, because your name is known. It's a known variable. And then with your name, I can use a search engine like Facebook to know even more about you, and then your details in the LinkedIn, who you are, what you do, what post you are. So I can even profile you and create a sort of a mapping on what are your soft spot, what are probably your password that you're going to use, your name, your wife's name, your kid's name, your birth date. So all that is possible. And to make things worse, then if they know you, they can send a phishing mail to you. This is called a directed attack, directed phishing attack. Yeah. So they know you, they profile you. Okay, let's say this email comes from a trusted friend from UK, sent to you. Then you will accept it, and then there will be an attachment saying that this is our photos those days, that you need to look again and review. Then you will click it, and suddenly your antivirus software is not up to date, and there's a lot of things can happen. If your laptop is good, maybe your laptop is good, then your mobile phone is not good because you have an Android mobile phone, and then Android mobile phone can be attacked easier as compared to laptop. Then they move into mobile phone apps, and reach you from mobile phone. And many of us now are not even opening our emails. We just read our WhatsApp faster. Our messenger is faster, and we are requesting, even our company say, can you send a file attached over WhatsApp? And then I can read it because it's faster, it's more personalized. I can bypass all the protocols of the hierarchy by going through WhatsApp or Telegram. Why should I go through that hurdles of the hierarchy to go through the IT department and then next layer and next layer to reach to the CEO, when I can just text the CEO through WhatsApp? So all this enabling of technology around us helps not just us to be happy, to work in a much more convenient sense, but it also helps the enemy to manipulate and to exploit the trust system that we have within us. So again, what is the crux of this problem, and also how do we counter it? It lies on creativity of the attacker, and the creativity of the defender, and the creativity of the user. And creativity relates to knowledge, and what's happening, then you become more creative to avoid it. If you do not know, you become ignorant. You just say like, come what may, then I think you may receive it. And they have a lot of ransomware. There are a lot of injection they can do. There are many maneuvers they can have to even control your data at home. So whatever that you type, your keyboard can be read, your password that you put in can be read. Then you can compromise not only yourself, you will compromise the corporate information because you have the corporate password. No matter how good, how fortified the corporate the companies that you work with, but if there is a what I call it, malware inside your laptop or even your mobile phone that you do not know of, then when you access those secure channels, then there will be a probability for them to also snap whatever that you have type in and things like that. So there's a lot of ways that they can maneuver. And then here you're talking about companies and with employees that are working remote. What about those individual citizens, the pakcik and makcik, or whoever that is not even belongs to a company, is on their own? Or that's even worse. The scammers will come like ant looking for sugar. So all this is happening nowadays. So how do we resolve these issues? I think these issues cannot be resolved easily, but it has to be addressed systematically through a systematic system. Like, yes, we have a technical solution to address it. if we can afford. But what about if I cannot afford? What about student who cannot buy an original software? Then I have to use software that is copied, and then there will be no service for signature updates for the antivirus, for instance. So there are lots of real issues down there that create opportunity for the attackers to come. And I would say that with this post-pandemic situation, I think the footings of online communities are getting bigger and larger. Is good because it gives us an opportunity to connect at a cheaper cost than before. But it is also a challenge because whenever we can connect, we can to whoever that we want. I think the attackers also can connect to us back. So this is a reciprocate situation that we need to be aware of and vigilant about. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Jay. Yeah, in this during the pandemic, I think most of the time we look at the cybersecurity news, the incident news. Most of them are related to the phishing scam, because those we are depending on those electronic messaging to work. So and also due to sometimes due to people tend to panic when looking at some emails, some wordings, so they respond to it. So it becomes one of the famous attacking method during the pandemic. Okay, and also I realized that more and more personal data are being disclosed to outside. Like if we go anywhere, if let's say we are not using the apps to register ourselves, we have to write down. So what are those things actually disclosed to the public? Everybody can see your phone number, your name. Okay, they are all there. So all those will also come up to another issue, is the personal data protection. Okay, so all these are happening now, and we have to deal with that at this moment. Okay, so but no matter how we are facing it, so I would also like to get the opinion from you as an end user. As an end user, being as company or as a personal usage, as an end user, how can we minimize the risk of being compromised from these attackers? Okay, Alan.
To be frank, personal data and compromise, to me, it could be two different issues, because those information, it is something that I'm willingly put it on the internet, such as like, today I posted this picture in LinkedIn to tell the whole world that I'm participating in the cyber initiative by tailors. And also this afternoon, probably I've ate something, I posted in my Facebook telling that I'm eating some dim sum in some restaurant. So of course, people are exploiting this information for financial gain or for commercial gain. So if I'm willing to put on that, it means that I'm prepared for people to know about where am I and what am I doing. So I think it's okay. But a lot of time is unknowing, information being stolen, in view to that. Say, for instance, I do have a social media account like Facebook. I do have social media account like Instagram and LinkedIn. And if LinkedIn is being breached, that's when my password and username has been compromised. And then, unfortunately, if my LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook are using similar or quite similar password, then potentially, the attacker may guess my login for other things, such as my corporate email, Office 365, or even though my bank accounts. So this is something that, unintentional one, and I'm not willing to share one. So to prevent all this to be compromised and exploited by the attackers, whether it's willing or unwilling, I think end of the day is how much information you want to put on the internet, so that people can minimize your footprint in the internet, so that people can't guess who or where and what about yourself and your interest and hobby. And second thing is also try to use a more sophisticated password, or try to actually change a password from time to time. You know, I'm sure you know there's a website called Pawn Me or something like that. You know, so basically you can check your email whether it has been compromised, and then at least you will know that. Because the problem is that, you know, once those sites are compromised, they will never inform you. Okay. When we go through, we just realize that, wow, there are so many compromised and no one informed me. That's why from time I will check, and then from there I need to change my password. But I'm sure everyone will have the same issue. Changing password is always a very daunting task and very tough thing, because, you know, how are we able to remember so many passwords associated to our accounts, you know, email, our social media and things like that, KWSP account, Maybank, CMB, you know, so it's very difficult. That's why, you know, many of us, or many of normal citizens, actually they are using the unified or same password or very simple password. That was something not good, and it's very wrong, you know. That's why over here I wish to kind of advise, especially all the students, you know, try to use a more sophisticated password.
Mr. Allen, I think this is the topic for the next
Yeah, that's
next
exactly of
session.
currency. Okay, now mind, sorry,
Yeah.
then I will stop here, because I think in accent of time also, I think we all run the time already.
Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Ong, for being the moderator for this session. So we'll be moving on to the next section, which is what data exists on the internet and how to protect it. In this section, we will have Dr. Avis, Mr. Alan C, and Dr. Hussein Jasri as the speakers, and Mr. Kelman Arul as the moderator. You may begin, Mr. Kelman.
Yep. Can you guys hear me?
Sure.
Yep.
Right. Good afternoon, friends. Good afternoon, Alan. Good afternoon, Prof. Good afternoon, Dr. Avis, and good afternoon, Ong.
Yeah.
And good afternoon to everyone, guys. So let's get started. Okay. We're talking about data. Data is considered to be the new oil or the new gold or platinum or silver or whatever. Everything runs on actually data. I actually picked up some numbers to know the amount of data that we are actually handling. According to a study, it actually shows that 4.6 billion people are online, right, with a 5.1 billion mobile phone owners, with like 2 billion people. Okay, this number has actually gone up. This is a number as of 2020. Okay, the 2 billion people are actually shopping online, like what Alan said. Shops the groceries and the food over online now, which most of us do in that work from home area, right? And 3.7 billion social media users. So all of this users on internet are actually generating around 175 zettabytes of data only on internet. This is not counting or adding up the data that is in the corporates, the day-to-day data, the corporations, the banks, the transactions that is actually churning up. This 175 zettabytes doesn't include that. This 175 zettabytes of data are out there on internet, which has been actively moving around, right? With so much of actually data, as Doctor has actually shared earlier in the earlier topic, the amount of data that is going on the Facebooks and LinkedIns and so on and so forth. So since there were a few topics that has been actually covered in the earlier, let me change a little bit over here, right? With the amount of devices that we are working, whether it's our CCTV cameras that we are actually having in our home. Let me refer back to what has happened in Singapore early of this year, January. 4,000 Singapore household CCTV camera feeds were actually Alan says pornography. Okay, right. It's been actually released in pornography websites. 4,000 Singapore household CCTV cameras released in pornography websites. What kind of data is our IoT devices, the internet connected devices, are exposing out on internet? Do we really have privacy? And what is our PDPA doing about it? That's what I want to actually structure the next 30 minutes for, right, for you guys. So let's go around. Since Alan and Professor Dr. Jazz has been been talking for the last 1 hour, I suppose. Okay, let me actually go to Dr. Avis first now. Okay, doctor. Yes, we all are actually holding all kind of devices, from IoT to mobile phone is also considered as an IoT device anyway. Plus all our online, social media, and everything. So, what kind of data are we sharing intentionally? And very importantly, what kind of data are we sharing unintentionally, which can be used against us?
Okay, thank you, Clemens. Okay, before I answer your question, I have another question maybe for all of the audience. Okay, so what every day you do with your phone, with your computer, with your laptop, or your iPad? What you do? I think most of the students, even my daughter, do the same. He woke up in the morning and walked down the stairs, and then he picked up her phone, and then he go on Facebook. He checked on what her friends do in the morning. And also he checked on the Instagram. He trying to see what kind of picture has been posted by her friend on the Instagram. And then some of people, they may wake up in the morning and they pick up the phone and then log into the news section or to do some blog. So all this information are actually floating on the internet, okay? So I believe for the Facebook, for the Instagram, and for the blog, these all are the free service, okay? So ask yourself, why the businessman or the business provide you such free services? What do they get back from you? Have it ever come to your mind, why it's so convenient for you to use Facebook for free, to use Gmail for free, to use Instagram for free? Most of the services are free. And then these are the businessmen. What do they get back from you in order to maintain the service up and running? Actually, they try to collect your personal data. They do the big data analysis. Then they sell to the advertisement, right? Have you tried to search something on Google and then later you turn on your Facebook, then you will see all the advertisement on your Facebook to show what you should buy for your mother or what you should buy for your lovely ones. Do you have that kind of experience? So what I'm trying to say is, now we are all considering what is our personal data and why we should protect our personal data and why the personal data is so important. And at the meantime, you should also ask yourself, where are the data from? Actually, when you post it to the Facebook or to the Instagram, or you share your GPS locations, that's on your own free will. That means you give up on your personal right, give up your personal data already. So should you blame for it? All these people abuse your data. No, actually not. If you look carefully into the user agreement provided by all these free services, you will see actually they ask you to give it up already. You have no right to blame them to abuse your own personal data. And then on the other hand, also there are some data that have been leaked out without your own attention. For example, maybe it's not that obvious, but do you know when you use your mobile phone, although it's in a idle mode, that means you are not actually turning on the apps, or it's not by using at the right it's not, you are not using it at the moment. It's you just put it on the table. It's in idle. Your mobile phone still send out a lot of information, such as your SIM serial number, your hardware number, your mobile phone number, your locations, and also your local IP address that has been sending out. And most of the time, according to the study, most of the time, in average, your mobile phone will communicate with the backend server in every 4.5 minutes, because the backend server would like to know what have you done, what you are doing. or have you sent, or you are still alive on this phone? Has it been switched off? So you need to check on your current status on the phone. So your phone has to communicate with the backend server. All these informations it's sending out without your conscience. I believe you don't know what has been sending out. Okay, so I mean, now this topic is about personal data protection and what data actually floating on the internet. Actually, most of the data you contribute to send out on your own free will, and some of them maybe not. So if you ask me how to protect all this data floating on the internet, you should ask yourself, why do you need? Is it really necessary to post everything, your personal information, and post all of your loved ones' pictures on the Facebook? Is it really necessary? It may be difficult for you to go against the Facebook or the Instagram to say why you abuse my personal data or my pictures. But it should be easy for you to ask yourself whether it's necessary to post all of the pictures. Do I have, can I control myself and not to do this? And that's the minimum requirement to yourself to protect your own information. Okay, that would be all. Thank you.
Thanks, Doctor. Alan, to you, buddy.
Okay, I think Doctor has really said most of it. On the internet, I'm sure you know the personal data user give away for free, and it transforms into a very precious commodity for the businessman. A simple, puppy photos that you upload, you train the machine to be smarter, because that's how people are using AI, using your information to train the AI machine. And even though a simple question you ask Google, you will become train the Googles understand more about yourself. And let's talk about the location history that you post, and which shop that you attract the most shopper and things like that. So now you understand why so many applications are free for use, and how do they make money if it's free. And again, personal data is often compared as an oil, because data is a new oil. I'm sure everyone know that, because data is so important. And every day, hundreds of companies you may or may not even know exist, gather facts about yourself, and some more intimate than others. And information may then flow to academic researchers, hackers, law enforcement, and even foreign nation, as plenty of companies trying to sell your stuff to people. And usually we talk about personal data. Dr. Elvis talked about, photo, whichever. Yes, your health record, your IC number, your banking details makes up most of the sensitive information that you store online potentially. Okay, because some apps may not store online, but some apps may store it online. And social media posts, location data, search engine queries may be something also quite reviewing to those merchants. So if all this information is collected on a very wide spectrum and consent, and sometimes it's consented and sometimes non-consented. But whether it's consent or not consented, sometimes to us it's no knowledge, because everything we do today, it's like, when you sign for application, you always tick, yes, because if you don't agree, you are unable to download the application, So that means to them, it's consented. But again, anyone who has witnessed the same shoe advertisement follow them around the web knows that they're being tracked. I'm sure, like he mentioned just now as well, when you search for shoes, and the shoe advertisement will follow you in the Facebook. But again, this is not all the bad news, because the information that you share online does contribute to the global store of useful knowledge. Researchers from numbers of academic disciplines actually study social media posts and from other users to learn more about humanity as well. So that's why, of course, no one wants their data to be used, but in fact, the more data they feed to the internet, the more data that AI and machine learning actually take it to learn more about the humanity. So that's why not all are bad, but of course, to us, I don't want my sensitive information to be shared, but I don't mind those information that I consent or I consented to be shared. It can be shared, don't worry. Just like this morning, I can just post, I'm eating a roti canai at the mama store. I don't mind, So yeah, that's my view.
Thanks, Alan. Professor Dr. Jess, let me actually rephrase that question a little bit. Since Alan said that the more sharing in a way also helps for more learning across the world on stuff, there's always been a contention because you're from the agency background, you have seen it across the world, Doctor. Where is the line of we knowingly sharing and those data that has been taken out of us without we knowing it, right? Where is the line and how does the government sees it? Because there is also sometimes there are statements through to the government is actually watching whatever we are doing. Is it true, and how is that happening? Prof, to you, Dr. Jess.
Okay, thank you, Clement. I guess the line is, you're asking about the line between privacy and the right for companies to share information.
Correct.
I think this line is quite blurry and not homogeneous. So it has two problems here. One, it is
right. We are losing.
It is not.
Right, Prof, we are actually losing your voice. I think courtesy the internet connection. All right, we have, I think we have lost Prof a little bit over there.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I think we have a major issue here. Let me summarize it in short. We have differences in perspective at individual level, at organizational level, at the national level, and at grouping level, regional level, or even in the world. So we have differences in, we don't have a convention actually at all level. So at the personal level, each person would see this problem of issues of privacy differently. Some might say, what's wrong of me sharing my information? And the other would say, this information is very sensitive to. So it is a difficult situation to harmonize. The other situation now is at the organizational level. So the commitment of organization to privacy and the defining line within that is also different from one company to another, and this to me is also a big challenge. The third is at the national level, which is at the regulatory level. Then you see that in Malaysia, for instance, we have a PDPA, Personal Data Protection Act. It has been enacted so many years back, but how many of us really understand it or know it? I don't think it is picking up a momentum at all. And then if you study this act, it has full of provision that everyone else has to observe the privacy rules except the government. So I think then you have a dichotomy. Government can do, but individual cannot do, and then companies cannot do, government can do. So you create a whole lot of confusion as what can be done and what cannot be done. And in this situation, to develop a new cultural context in terms of digital privacy is a challenge. I think this because digital privacy was not around before, so it's only comes along during the internet era. So this is a new culture. Creating this new culture is actually a challenge among us. And now you see at the European level, at the regional level, and then you see the European has made quite an advanced move to enhance the privacy laws. They call it GDPR, General Data Regulation, General Data Protection Regulation. So they have a lot more and interesting and rules to play. But then again, if we apply the same rules to Malaysia, can we enforce it? So now comes back the issue of, say, like how do I enforce this law across the country? Would other country respect the law that I'm going to apply on? So things like that. So yes, it is not an easy issue to address, but the least we can do, especially to the youngsters, the Gen X, Y, Z, the Gen Z, and the youngsters, is for us to inculcate the importance of privacy in life, and start to take these values seriously. And then I think by doing this, then I think we would create a lot more expectation to the government of the day, to oblige to a certain standards of data privacy to be enforced. So I think this is not something that we can resolve in a very short period of time, but it requires an ecosystem of a time period that will take a while. So now, what is the solution? The solution, to me, it has to come back to individual. So I think this is the easiest way to resolve it. Then we as an individual has to have this greater understanding of what level of privacy we want to practice as a part of our own value system. So I think if we can apply this to ourselves, and I guess it will become a more effective at a higher level. That is my answer to your question. Thank you.
Thanks, Prof. Thank you. So the Prof's summary is a very simple, straightforward. Guys, we have to change. It's a cultural change. It's an entire ecosystem change. Every one of us have to change. And every one of us have to be very clear on what privacy means to us. What kind of data are we willing to share, and try to keep our personal data as close at our heart as possible. But a lot of people actually throw that. Okay, going to the next question, which I'm going to post it to Dr. Abbas. A lot of people actually say, hey, we don't want to share. But again, if we don't want to share, then we can't use Facebook. We can't use our Instagram. So what should we do? Stop using them?
All right, thank you. So this is normally what I said. Sometimes it's just not possible to throw everyone back to the Stone Age, because we are in the internet new era right now. It's just not possible for all of us to go back and try to live in an old-fashioned way. So it's not avoidable to use the Facebook or the Instagram or any social media applications. It's just not possible. And it's also not possible to stop everyone from sharing information on the internet, okay? But at least one thing you can do is to ask yourself whether it's necessary to post this on the internet or to share the information on the internet. And think it 3 times before you do it. If you think you are not going to regret it 10 years or 20 years later, then fine. And also, if you think this information are not going to harm you in the future, okay, so then it's fine, you can use it. But if you think the pictures or the informations or the data you share on the internet, it's going to harm for somebody else or harm for yourself, then stop doing that. So I'm not asking everyone to stop using the Facebook because it's not possible. But at least one thing you can do is to think carefully before you do it. Okay, that's my answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Abbas. Alan, your thoughts to it?
Yes, the same thought. I'm also quite active in social media, and of course, by taking into all the consideration accounts that if the information that is not going to bring me any negative repercussion, sharing is not harmful. Of course, it may lead to the merchants to actually look for me, promoting the solution, promoting their products to me, but I'm completely fine, because to be frank, sometimes I find some good products from that as well. I mean, especially, sometimes I mean, out of context, if I post something on alcohol, then suddenly those liver detox, supplement advertisement follow me, then I will just discover, hey, probably there's a good solution for that. So I think as a student, I think we must judge, especially youngsters. Sometimes out of curiosity or out of whichever you think about it, and you just post something that may harm you in future. Imagine you have posted some new pictures of yourself, or share some of the naked pictures or photos of yourself or internet, but at your age probably it is not harmful. Even though it was leaked out, also will not be harmful to you. The only thing is that your mom and your dad will scold you. But imagine, at the moment you post the information on the internet, there's no way you're able to retrieve it back. There's no way you're able to cancel it or delete it from internet, because it will be there perpetually. And one day, imagine 20 years later, you become a CEO of a listed company, or you are become a CFO of a listed company, and this old picture resurface, then you will get harmed by then, So please think twice before you do this, and do it wisely. That's my point to Clem. Thanks.
Thanks, Doctor. Thanks, Alan. All right, okay. Right now, see, we are speaking about the social media, the public data. Let's come into the corporate side, right? When we actually running companies and the banks, the public listed firms, all these companies, when they actually put up their online applications and online services, I believe there is always a security in place to protect the privacy and the data of the consumers. But if there was a breach, what can a customer or an employee do about the breach? For example, 533 million Facebook users' data gone out of which 11.6 million belong to Malaysians. What can we do? Can PDPA help us here or not? Like in 2017, 2018, 46.2 million mobile subscriber data. That includes all of us, everyone. IC number, address, everything was out there. How can we actually, or who is responsible? And as a customer or as a user, how can we actually handle this breaches, and what kind of impact that can happen to us? Dr. Evis.
Well, this is actually a very big question. So sometimes I just make a joke out of it. There's nothing you can do about it. It's out there, it's out and it's out, But we do see this kind of event happen from time to time. And I think currently, according to the, the PDPA or the personal protection law in Taiwan or the Gdpr, all of these laws are saying if you have the data leakage, especially, then first thing you need to do is to report to it, to all these, how to say that, the victims. So that means their data has been leaked out. So you needed to inform them what happened. And then also you needed to inform your current status and how you're gonna do about leakage. And then in the end, for this event, and then you probably will be fined for, I don't know, a great amount of the monies. Okay, so I think that's all I know for the moment. But if we go back to the inside of the business, okay, so I do believe right now most of the company, they will say, okay, we are trying to hire some technical guys, especially do the digital forensic, to investigate on what exactly happened within the company and try to see how the root cause for this event, and then they will propose and how they're gonna do in the future to stop this from happening again. Yeah. So, but is this really enough? If this is really enough, I believe if you will not see this from time to time, and all these are on the news actually. So the thing is, we have to check with the business owner what they actually, what is their own responsibilities, and what they're going to do to prevent it. Otherwise, I believe this is going to happen again and again, and really we have nothing. The individual like us, there's nothing we can do about it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Abbas. Alan,
Mm-hmm.
how do you handle this, buddy? Data breach is growing.
I think the key challenges is the fine and enforcement. We have PDPA. We have not seen any case has been enforced, and also we have not seen anyone has been charged noticeably. Of course, maybe there are some which is not unnoticed, and you see the MCMC leakage and whichever leakages, no one was prosecuted. And do you think Malaysian would care about PDPA? I don't think they will care. But if you're in Europe and you're confined to GDPR, and GDPR just stated that you will be fined 20 million euro or 4% of your annual revenue, whichever is higher, then people will be scared. Just like British Airways, when they are the database has been breached, and they are fine. So today, if I run a company and in Malaysia, then I know that PDPA is a tiger without a tooth, and to be frank, I won't care. And moreover, like what just now Clement, you restated very clearly that the PDPA applies to corporate and normal citizen, but not to government. So how do people see that? How come are you exempted from that? So enforcement is one of the key challenges, I think. So without enforcement, without penalty, people will just don't care. And when people don't care, you will expect more MCMC incident will happen in Malaysia, and you will receive all kind of phone scam from whichever businesses or scam, because literally the whole Malaysian IC mobile numbers has been leaked already. That's my point.
Thanks, Alan. So sum it up, guys. As we have come to 4:18, 2 more minutes left for our session to over. Just to sum up, Rice, so if you see that Dr. Evans said, hey, there's nothing much we can do. The data is already out there. Once the data is out there, there's nothing much we can do. And as Professor Dr. Jas said, hey, there's one part of the industry that is governed by PDPA, but the guy who actually created the PDPA is exempted out of it. So that actually creates a little bit of imbalance. And then Alan says, guys, if you don't enforce it, nothing is going to happen. And if it's a local Malaysian company, enforcement is not happening. If it's a foreign company like Facebook, no way. So as consumers and as the people who are in Malaysia who are actually generating data, and we are funneling the businesses around the world with that data, it's your responsibility to be more, as Dr. Evans said, think 3 times before you post anything, before you work with any company, or whether you share your data with any company, because responsibility lies back on the companies. Yeah, there are a lot of companies who are actually putting in a lot of encryptions, the data at rest, like all data in the databases are encrypted. All the data that is moving across on the internet is encrypted, right? So, but there are possibilities of vulnerabilities in their system that can allow a hacker to breach the security systems and steal the data. That has happened to many big companies, right? So then they have the risk management and all of it. But from the consumer, from the user side, let's be careful who we give our data to. A lot of people, last week someone actually told me, Clement, we went to a particular website to buy a ticket, and the guy did not transfer them to a payment gateway or the bank. The website itself was collecting the credit card details. Now, that might not be anything for you as a user because you just want a ticket out. But when you're giving your credit card to a company who is not a bank or a financial institution, then they might not have relevant security measures in place. And if they start storing your credit card, then that is a potential problem of a data breach. So coming back as what we started, it's our responsibility. Let's make our decision to what to share, where to share, and how much to share. Happy sharing, and happy safely sharing, and happy secure sharing. Thank you, guys. Jasper, back to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kalman. So when we moving on to the final topic of the day, it will be predictions for the cybersecurity landscape 2021 and beyond. So for this topic, we'll be having Mr. Kalman, Kalman Aro, Mr. Alan C, and Dr. Jazz as our speakers, with Mr. Ong again moderating this topic.
Jasper,
Yes.
I think I need to have an seek an excuse from the event because I have something urgent to attend to. I'm meeting somebody at the hospital. Yeah. So can I be excused?
All right, sure thing, Dr. Jazz.
Yeah,
thank you for attending today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Jess.
All right, Mr. Ong, you may proceed.
Okay. Hi again, Alan. Hi, Clement.
Hi, Hong.
Hi. Okay. So this will be the last topic of today's. Okay. Talk about the prediction. Okay. First, let's talk about some statistics again. Okay. Actually, in the first quarter of 2020, it was detected 445 million attacks detected. There was a report actually reporting this statistic, and 26.5% of those transactions actually were fraud and abuse attempts. Okay, and this caused by of course, one of the big reasons because of the pandemic. Okay, a lot of people go online, and then it's new to a lot of people, so all these fraud happening. Okay, and of course, look at this statistic. Actually, is in 20% increase compared to the first quarter of 2019. Okay, so this is what happened in the past. Okay, and now this year in 2021, we are actually recovering from COVID-19 pandemic until today. Okay, we are still surviving. Okay. And because of a lot of restriction coming out from the SOP, so we are not we are being controlled for the face-to-face interaction across the globe nowadays. Okay, across the border or even with gathering. So all these have been reduced. Meeting, we have to go for online. All this kind of control nowadays. All these SOPs now. Okay, so and of course, looking at it, consumer behavior is in a flux, and digital transactions are on the rise. Okay, more and more digital transactions coming on now. Okay, so looking at the technologies now, okay, with the emerging of the new technologies today, okay, we have things like 5G, okay, and we have IoT, and also we are still have a lot of new technologies come out from the cloud computing. Example, now I come to know one developer. He's talking about serverless programming nowadays. Okay, so you can't imagine that without a server, our transactions can process. Okay, so there's a technology called serverless. Okay, and also as mentioned just now, we also have a machine learning and artificial intelligence. All these new technology, I'm sure the students are learning from the college, learning from the universities. They heard about it. They may have learned some of those theory or some story behind all these new technologies. Okay, and I'm sure they are very eager to know more how this will affect the market, and how will all these technologies will help the industry grow in the future. Okay, so and on top of those new technologies, there are still some challenges for the business nowadays. Okay, especially for those compliance issue. Okay, and also legal requirements such as data protection. Okay, so with all these new technologies, okay, I would like to ask the panelists, get their opinion. Okay, in your opinion, what will be the cybersecurity landscape look like in 2021 onwards? Okay, in terms of the trends of the threats of cyber attack, and also the emerging technologies that could be used to control those cyber attacks. Okay, probably I will let Clement. What is your view on that? What is your opinion?
Right. Okay. a huge topic by itself. So let's start with 1 or 2 pointers, and then I'll pass it to Alan. If I start talking, then I'll finish everything. Alan says, Clement.
Yeah,
Right.
go ahead.
I don't mind. I've been
Don't
talking for
mind
the
me
whole
talking
day
for a long
already.
time. I actually finished 2 or 3 bottles now. Okay, guys. So let's put this across, guys. There are few pointers that are actually happening. I understand, Mr. Ong, that machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence are actually coming on very heavily on many of our defenses. While we are talking about defenses, we also have to understand that the hackers are already using them for hacking. Artificial intelligence have been used by hackers in many ways. For easy understanding for our audience who are from student background, right? There is an artificial intelligence patented technology called as overdub. If you go on Google for this technology called as overdub, OVERDUB. Overdub is a technology, artificial intelligence based technology that creates voice clone up to a 95% accuracy of anyone's voice, right? So pretty much you can just talk for a couple of minutes. It actually captures your voice pattern and it starts generating an AI synthesizer over your voice and creates a voice clone. Thereafterwards, whatever you type, it will start talking in your voice. Now, this has been there out there for a couple of years now. And there has been an attack that has happened in UK where a company lost 240,000 euros when a call came from the phone number of a CEO to the CFO and giving an instruction saying that transfer the 240,000 euros to this particular account who's our new upcoming JV partner, and we need it immediately to start a new business. When I'm back in office, I'll sign all the papers, transfer it now. The CFO wasn't able to say no because it is a boss on the line. The phone number is actually showing the boss's phone number and the voice is boss's voice. Now there is no way that he can say, oh, someone is playing with me kind of a stuff. It's the exact boss's voice. 240,000 euros transferred instantly into a bank account controlled by fraudsters, which was then transferred into multiple bank accounts across Switzerland and everyone. The money is gone. So hackers are actually using artificial intelligence for a lot of the attacks, including malwares. So coming back to your question, Mr. Ong, so just to append to what you just now said, that AI is a technology, or machine learning or deep learning is a technology that anyone can use it for good or for bad. So what are the current trends of attack that we are seeing in 2021? As Alan said earlier, remote working, the work from home has actually opened up a whole lot of security attacks. Okay, according to Trend Micro, 2,000%. It's not 2% or 20%. Increase in 2,000% of attacks from work from home. Why? When we are sitting in our office, when defenses. When we are sitting in our house, what layers of defense do we have in our house? Our modem. We wouldn't have even have changed the modem password for the last couple of years. We wouldn't have updated the modem software from the day number 1. Right? Then your wireless router. Other than that, what else do you have in our house to protect? Nothing. Then we go into antivirus. Antivirus that works with signatures, patterns, and behaviors that doesn't pick up more than what 40-50% of the attacks today has not been picked up by antivirus. So if you're going to be in that state and you're connecting to your organization via your VPNs, if your computer or the employee's computer that is in the house is infected, which can very easily be infected with one email coming around, then an attacker gets a one hop from that employee's machine that is compromised in the house straight into the organization's core infrastructure. So the attacks have increased tremendously and it will increase more. So that's one trend that we are seeing, and we have seen it in 2020 and no stop, it's increasing continuously. The ransomware has increased tremendously because of that, right? We saw Garmin, the watch producer, hit multi-million-dollar to be paid, right? Many hospitals been hit. There have been hospitals in Malaysia that have been hit by ransomware, and they had to pay, or they have to take the data out, and they have to lose some data in that process, right? A month back, a hospital in Germany was hit, and 2 people died because of wrong medicines given. Thanks to digital transformation, we no longer have papers. We have everything digitally centralized, and if that centralized system gets encrypted, there goes, right? And everyone are now moving into cloud, right? And the cloud security is totally given to the cloud provider. A lot of people have this myth that if you move to cloud, everything is going to be miraculously secure. That's not true. If you are hosting your application and the application is vulnerable, the application remains vulnerable, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud, right? So there's a lot of attacks that doesn't go away by you just moving to the cloud, right? So the cloud security is another stuff that we are actually looking on. And then the traditional web-based attack. And the other one that I want to touch on before I pass it to Alan is the mobile apps. As more and more financial institutions and the banks are forcing their customers to use mobile banking apps for everything, the security of those apps and the security of the mobile devices is very important, because the number of attacks has increased. There have been a lot of complaints in Bank Negara here in Malaysia and across this region, for our reference, that people have started to lose money from an infected mobile phone where the transactions happened, right? So there is a lot of attacks that is happening, a lot of new avenues for hackers, right? So how to protect, we will take it as the next section. I leave it to Ong for that, but now back to Alan.
Okay, thanks, Clement. I think you have already said most of it, and I totally agree, especially, mobile and cloud, So I think, in general, I have also summarized some of the prediction for 2021 in terms of the trends and in the cybersecurity industry. I think there will be a huge cybersecurity impact for this year because of working from home, and more attacks will occur on the home computer and networks with the bad actors even using the home offices as a criminal hubs by taking advantage of the unpatched system and also architecture weakness. I think we have already seen this scenario happening in some of our clients, in Malaysia. And like Clement actually mentioned just now, the cloud security, because right now there's also a rush to cloud everything. People are talking about cloud, email, Office 365, and they assume probably it's safer if you don't maintain the hardware. But to me, if the application remain unpatched and cloud just provide you a platform, just like you host it in your own data center or the public data center. So having said that, we must also ensure that our security patches and misconfiguration or configuration, whichever, has to be rectified as well. And I also foresee this year will be more growth in the cybersecurity industry. To be frank, the pandemic didn't kill the industry. In fact, pandemic has actually strengthened the industry. Like many other cybersecurity partners, last year our revenue grew by 40%. Despite lockdown for about a few months, these are all contributed due to the pandemic, because people are more concerned about cybersecurity. So we see a number of new products will be launched this year, and also we expect some mergers and acquisition will happen, which has been happening, and you will see more and more happening. And also we will also see the privacy will still be in a mess. Like I say, PDPA is something that enacted for many years ago, but you never see anything being enforced. Even though with GDPR as well, especially Brexit, Britain has really leave the Eurozone, and at the same time, will GDPR apply to them? And they have many subsidiary across the whole Europe, so that it make the whole privacy acts in a confusion and also in a mess. And the other thing also, we see that the multi-factor authentication (MFA) will take a center stage as password start to go away at a tipping point here. Why? Because people think that those days we have been using password for at least past 40 years. But right now, because of the zero trust and MFA will come into a big play, especially at least two-factor authentication will be introduced in most of the remote login and whichever to the organization, and they will replace the typical password that you use to log into your servers. Okay, and of course, like also Clement has rightly pointed out also, the leakage of CCTV footage in Singapore and appear in a porn site. Yeah, it happened because why? When you want to have smart home, please be ensured that your smart home devices are secure, because we expect tons of high-profile IoT hacks will happen, and it will make a headline news very soon because it was ungoverned and it was unpatched. And last 2 years, ransomware has been one of the key threat vectors in Malaysia, and even for the past month, you will see that some major bank has also been infected by ransomware, and many server has been encrypted and production has been affected. So you will see that with this new twist, data steering prior to the encryption, malware packaging with other threats, and very specific targeting of organization will happen rapidly in the coming year. And of course, with the introduction of 5G, then you expect there will be a 5G vulnerability appears soon, because right now government is forming a new special vehicle for that. So we expect when the 5G being launched, there will be a 5G vulnerability related to it. And APT has also is getting more and more. APT is advanced persistent threats attacks. The dark web will allow criminals to buy access into more sensitive corporate network information as well. And mobile devices, like Clement also has also rightly pointed out, there will be new ways, including even App Store also will be attacked as well, which I predict, because the attacker is getting smarter, and with the help of AI, actually speed up a lot of process. And last 2 points, I think cryptocurrency will play a new role. In fact, if you see the cryptocurrency price has already more than 50 or 60,000 US dollar from a couple of years ago, only couple of hundred US dollar, and criminals are switching the way of trading, especially right now when you are being infected by ransomware. You'll be asked to pay a cryptocurrency, because this is where cryptocurrency will become the darknet currency, where government can't trace it, and they will actually hide it, under the darknet. And last but not least, we will expect 2021 will have a lot more digital transformation project grow, and many people will actually start to transform their businesses if they missed the opportunity last year. So I think these are all the points that I've compiled, and I hope that's useful for some of the prediction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Thank you, Simon.
Yes,
Okay,
thanks.
so talking about the AI. Yes, I'm not a techie guy, but I used to use some tools when I want to show my client about how serious about his security. Okay, there is a plugin I use in my my browser. Okay, it's from Shodan.io. So I'm sure in security line you heard about that. Also for the students' advantage, there is a website called Shodan, SHODAN.io. There is an icon that whenever I go to the website, I like to click on that icon, and then it will show me what are the vulnerabilities for that particular server. So that, in other words, even though in the company, if our servers are exposed to the internet, and if we don't know what happened to that, outsider, there are a lot of people already know, because they are AI keep on scanning our servers, our external IPs, and disclose all this information to outsider. Okay, so this is something I want to share. And it's interesting to know from Clement about the ODAP. It's a voice phishing. Okay. In the past, we are dealing with email phishing. Now we got to deal with voice phishing. Okay. And okay, for this also, maybe I would like to add something for the advantage for the students. Probably, if Alan and Clement anything can add on. The reason why from the beginning of this forum we talk until now, we talk about personal data. We have to talk about we have to protect personal data. And now we talk about voice also. In the fact that if you look at all these things, there is a common things we need to protect is about the trust. Okay. If you imagine if somebody call you and you say it's from the bank, it can tell everything about you, now including the voice. Okay, so that means you even though you don't 100% trust this person, at least 99% you trust because it can tell everything about you. Where they will get it from the internet. Okay, and nowadays why voice become an issue because some e-commerce or even banks, especially if you call to Microsoft, you realize that they acknowledge they acknowledge your voice. Okay, even though Citibank nowadays, if you call them, you can actually tell them what you want to do by your voice. They will take your instruction and move you to another step. Instead of in the past, we just punch on the numbers. Okay, what you need to do, punch 1, punch 2. Now, no. You ask you can just what I want to do. You just tell what you want to do with your voice. The system will lead you through to serve you. Okay, so voice become very important. Okay, so this is one point. Okay, another point is that I also feel that what Clement and Alan say is true is about the cloud security. A lot of organizations thought that by putting their service to the cloud is actually solving the security. But from the management point of view, I always tell my client that no, it's another risk you need to manage. Okay, when you put the cloud, you need to manage them because they are your supplier. You have solved your manpower, your electricity, your resources problem, but you have another risk to manage, which is the outsourcing security. Okay, so these are a few things I would like to add on that. Okay, so of course, there's another question I would like to pose to Alan. You are one of the leader in cybersecurity industry in Malaysia. Okay, as a cybersecurity industry player in the market nowadays, what do you foresee that would happen in the near future in cybersecurity field?
Okay, I think the question is very general, but anyway, talk about current scenario. If the current scenario is that there are more and more cybersecurity company in the market, pen testing, MSS, SOC operators, and SI as well. And of course, just like e-wallet, and there are too many e-wallets, so it's a time. Sometimes it's time there for M&A and consolidation. So in my personal view is that there are oversupply of especially MSS provider in the market. Okay, if you look at that, right now there are more than 10 MSS provider in the market, and then everyone are cutting throats. Even though for pen test also, there are so many pen testers in the market, and everyone is cutting throat. I remember 10 years ago, we can charge like, I mean, Clement also in this same business, and we can charge like 1,500 per man day, kind of things. Right now, it will be lucky if we can charge 1,000, 1,200, and giving the scenario that 10 years ago, the cybersecurity expert salary has increased tremendously. I must emphasize it. I'm sure all of us in the same business, know that the salary has gone up tremendously, but the rate is going down because of competition. Some jokers in the market are selling that very cheap, So I think you will go through one round of consolidation. Some weaker will be eliminated, and of course, some of them may be merged into a bigger entity and things like that. So this is from business perspective. And the other angle is also with the new technology. Just now, I think one of the questions is asking, can AI actually replace human cybersecurity? I think to a certain extent it is, but it still will not be able to do it entirely, because AI will help in the area such as like today, if I'm running a SOC business, AI can help me to reduce the noises that I'm getting, especially those incidences and whichever, and then it will create more accuracy as compared with human, because I run the SOC 20 years ago, and basically those days I don't have AI, I use a human, and human always error prone, and human sometimes they got mood, You know, bad mode, they do better, bad mode, they do lousy work, you know, and hence sometimes we will miss some incident. AI will help. But when it comes to the last mile, I think human will still play an important role, especially interpreting the report. I don't think AI will give you their finding, but they still need to have a human decision to interpret the report and also make decision on whether shall we block or not to block and things like that. And also presentation to the board members, they also require human intervention. So AI will help to smoothen and to faster the speed rather than using eyeball, but human will still control everything at this stage, you know, I'm thinking of, you know. So I think I will assume, I'm not sure whether I answer your questions, you know, but this is my personal opinion.
Right. Let me actually add on to that AI stuff, because that particular question came up twice or thrice in the Q&A. It kept repeating, coming in again, and our friend Mr. Lau was keep on answering to it. Okay, so
you guys focus and I'll answer that.
Thanks, Lau. Okay, thanks. Okay, I just had a technical twist to what Alan just now said. AI definitely complements the human effort rather than replacing. So that's how I see it. Let me give an example. See, the attacks are getting very dynamic. Okay, whether using artificial intelligence or not, the attacks have become very dynamic, at least the last 10 years. But our defenses have been very static. We use antiviruses where it all with the known virus patterns, signatures, behaviors kind of a scenario. So that's a very reason why we started losing out the battle in the middle. So now with artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, there are a lot of technologies that are in place that can do deep packet inspection on anything that comes down to the network bypassing the firewall. It can also sit in the memory of your computer rather than the hard disk where your antivirus sits. The AI or a machine learning can sit in the memory of your computer to actually start seeing any anomalous behaviors like memory injection, privilege escalations, and all of that. And they can immediately flag which antiviruses wouldn't have. So that's where an artificial intelligence comes very handy. A machine learning can pick up any kind of an attack in a memory. Instantly, it actually triggers an alert, and a response can be derived immediately in killing up that process or quarantining that file or removing that file. The same thing as I go back to Alan's example of SOC. If you're sitting in a SOC and you're monitoring the alerts day in and day out, believe me, if you're seeing 100 alerts, 99 of them or even sometimes 100 of them are false positive. If you are a SOC guy sitting and watching again and again and again and again the whole day of false positives, even if a real attack happens, it will look like a false positive for you and you will hit the false positive button. And it has happened. In 2018, Sing Health, Singapore, 1.6 million Singapore citizens' medical records, including the Prime Minister's medical record and the prescription record. When they did the investigation, okay, the investigation report, anyone can download. It is available on internet. Just put Sing Health investigation report. It's a 400-pager document signed by the Minister of Singapore, public document. If you want to know technically what happened, that's the document for your technical detail. But anyway, coming back to this context, the SOC guys, okay, the attacker was there in Sing Health infrastructure for 11 months. Not for one day, not for 11 days, 11 months. They did not get picked up. But when they were running the queries to take the data out, it was picked up by the SIEM and the SOC had an alert, wrongly marked as false positive because everything looked the same, right? And if they have picked it up correctly, the data breach might have been stopped, or at least the amount of data might have been reduced. So this is again where the artificial intelligence comes very handy in their complementing the people. Ong, back to you.
Okay, thank you. So means in the coming near future, AI will become a very useful tools for you guys to conduct your business.
Correct.
In cybersecurity.
Correct.
Yeah.
From operations to risk management to vulnerability management, everything AI is gonna definitely help. It will definitely have an impact. See, For example, I know a government SOC which was running until a couple of years back. The tier 1 SOC analysts were 100 people. What is their job? Whatever alert comes, they have to check whether it is a false positive or not. No investigation. Investigation is on tier 2. Another 50 people. Tier 3, another 25 people. So 100, 50, 25. This 100 people will definitely reduce because AI will do the job.
Okay.
So there will be impacts on certain places, but in a bigger picture, AI definitely helps. Back to you.
Okay, thank you. So to wrap up this session, so I'm sure that the audience here, you have picked up some very important information from the conversation just now. If you are going to graduate from the cybersecurity studies, or you are in computer science or AI, or whatever related to those topics we have mentioned just earlier, so that means in the near future, those are your opportunities to participate in this particular cybersecurity landscape. Okay, so keep study hard and become a smart student. Okay, and come and join us in the cybersecurity industry. Okay, and help the country to secure. Okay, thank you. Back to you,
Thank
Jasper.
you. Thank you, Mr. Long. Can all the speakers open back their cameras, Mr. Law and Dr. Avis? Now we'll be coming into the open Q&A session where you guys can ask any questions. Then I will cue it to our speakers. So currently there's a question saying, is the cybersecurity salary considerable compared to developers or programmers? As it is quite competitive, the cybersecurity job is quite competitive in the market. For example, a project would need 50 programmers, but it might only need a few security consultants. Does any of you want to take the question?
I think La will be the right person.
Okay, I would say it's true to some extent that in a specific project, you need something like 50 programmers or upwards, right? Depending on how big it is. For security consultants, depending on the nature of that project, you might need more than one, or in certain cases, it really depends, right? I would say in general, for the market as a whole, there is a shortfall, a major shortfall of cybersecurity people that we need in the market. You can just do a search on LinkedIn and you can actually find there are many positions which are open. So I would say it's a different type of comparison. You will always need cybersecurity people.
All right. Does anyone of you want to take up the question as well?
See, the salary competitiveness depends upon the skill set that is being shown during your work in an organization. If you're actually coming out, this is what I tell to all the people that I mentor. See, I actually mentor a lot of students in tailors. I was closely working until last year, right? So now I'm a bit busy, so I have not come to the campus and work from home and all of that. There are a lot of people that I've mentored in Taylor's University are now in strategic positions across the industry. And I still mentor them. But okay, this is what I actually tell them when they come to me the first. If you're gonna actually start counting your money as a step number 1, then I am not the person to talk to, because I am gonna help you to increase your skill set and build your career, which will give you the money. But if you put the money as front and that who pays me more, then you are in a wrong industry and in your wrong career path altogether. Because I also heard someone said work balance kind of a scenario, right? When when we were actually talking to Jasper had this word, work and a personal
balance. Yeah.
Balance. And I actually saw Lau's reaction yesterday evening, even like that. Okay, right. In cybersecurity, if you want a work and personal life balance, you're in the wrong place. An attack can happen anytime. An hacker will not tell that, oh, that guy goes back home at 5 o'clock. Let me not hit them. Right. So like how the doctors are, the profession calls you at any time, and you have to be ready for 24 hours.
All right.
Yeah.
Mr. Alan, did you unmute your mic? Do you have something to say?
Oh, well, I think the shortage is very obvious. You know, I'm sure skillful cybersecurity experts are very shortage, and even though luckily we are being MSc status company, that we are even importing talent from India to do some of the job. Right now, I have few Indian citizenship, what they call expatriate working with us. And to be frank, their salary is never low, and their pay is even higher than locals. Why should we need to pay that? Because no choice, because we can't find a relevant candidate to do a relevant jobs on that. But we hope, I mean, this situation is not new, even though when I run my previous company 20 years ago, there's always a shortage. And right now the shortage, because of their requirements, is getting more and more, So go all the way out for cybersecurity, get yourself certified, get yourself with a good skill set. I'm sure you will get a good money, as a return. That's important.
Actually, to add on to that, in terms of certification, beginner certifications, would you recommend certifications such as the, if I'm not mistaken, CSX, Security Plus, or any other familiar certifications?
Who's gonna take up? Okay, so right, let me talk, and the others can add on to it. Right? See, guys, as what Professor Dr. Jas said earlier, right? Don't go and take certificates that are super expensive. That's what he says. That he said, right? So I'm of that same understanding. If a certificate is gonna cost me $10,000, $15,000, you're wasting your money. In that 3 days or 5 days, what can you actually learn? A 3 days and a 5 days certificate can never make you a professional. And I keep hearing what Law said today. Hey, certificate is not what is important. Your skill set is important. But again, I also agree with Alan that the industry is like that, and the customers do ask certificates. If you don't have certificate, you can't participate in tender. So it's a balance, right? So again, it is a certificate. Now, if you ask me, Cybersecurity Malaysia, the local cybersecurity agency, has a global ACE certification. It doesn't cross 5,000, 6,000 ringgit. And you get a 5 days full-fledged, hands-on, deep dive in certifications. Rather than you going for a very basic stuff like a CXH kind of scenarios, where you learn what is a worm and a virus for what, right? So look for what is the topic that is covered. See for how much of technical depth and hands-on that it gives you. And if you're actually taking a CSM certificate, are you going to take the certificate and go employ yourself in UK now? You might be getting more jobs in this region, right? You need a certificate that has been acknowledged in this region kind of a scenario. So if you ask me, go for Global ACE certification that is by Cybersecurity Malaysia in Malaysia, that is acknowledged by the government, and even MBOT. If you pass a Global ACE certificate and you get a certificate, you can go to MBOT and you can register. And if you have a bit of experience, you get TS in front of your name, technology specialist, as how the engineers used to have IR. Is the same body, right? It gives you a TS. So there are ways that you can look at.
All right, good advice. So does any one of you want to pick that up? Mr. Allen, Mr. Ong, Mr. Law, or Dr. Avis?
I think the notes to the student is that the CXH certificate is not valuable to the market, to be frank. It will to go to CSM, Cybersecurity Malaysia training, I think that will be more worthwhile because it's very technical. So sometimes people show me I'm a CH or whichever, I tell them I don't bother. So once you have those certification as a beginning, then after you have a 3 to 5 year working experience, then you can start to go for CISSP, and then that's where you start to build your career, because CISSP it's a very valuable certificate, and you brings you to another next height in terms of salary, when it comes to that. Thank you.
All right, advice.
Okay, so I'm gonna how to say, advise you guys a little bit differently, right? while you are still in the mood for studying, I would say go for the certs, right? Because when you are really on the job already, you may not have as much work-life balance as you would like to. So my advice is, if you can and you have the chance to do it, there are many programs like Clement and Professor Jazz already mentioned, CSM as the main government driver that sees that there's a shortfall in the cybersecurity industry, is trying to help the industry to introduce more students. I believe a lot of university and colleges, they're also seeing this one. That's why they are offering all of these courses. Similarly, like accounting courses, whereby they allow you to take ACCA certifications, right? There are also cybersecurity certs which you can take during your course. So do that while you are still very good at studying. It will help you to better understand what is inside cybersecurity, what you need to know, what you can also learn what you are very good at. So do it while you are still in the mood for studying. When you are really working, then you will be focusing on what you want to be better at, whether it be technical or be it consulting. So yeah, do it, because like we mentioned very, very early on in the session, it is a measurement for companies to know your competency. Unfortunately, unfortunately, that's one way of measurement which is adopted by our industry. So go for it if you have the chance. If you don't, then just how to say, pick a good mentor, and maybe go to Alan. You might get a job, and then his guys will mentor you to be better without certification. It doesn't mean that you have certification then you're very good. It also doesn't mean that if you don't have certification, it means that you're no good, right?
All right, thank you. How about Mr. Ong or Dr. Avis? Do you guys have any opinions on this? Mr. Dr. Avis, your mic is muted. Did you say something?
No, not. No comments for a moment.
All right, Mr. Ong?
I think Lau is right. When you are a student, you have more times. You should grab the opportunities to get more knowledge. Okay, and when it comes to certification, I don't know, some of the certifications, probably you no need to pay the full fees for the training and go for certification. If you already have the skill, you may just go direct to get the certification, which you don't pay a lot. Okay, I'm not sure, because I used to spend money to go for CEH, to go for ECSA, but I can tell you, after the training, I didn't take exam. Why? Because I just want to know the knowledge. I don't want to depend on the certificate to get the job. Because on my own, why do I need that certificate? This is what my thought. But I want to know how the hacking works, how the security analyst is supposed to work, so that I have this kind of knowledge to do sales talk. This is what I need. Okay, but for you, if let's say again come back to your career path, if you tend to go into technical, you should learn more. Okay, when it comes to the company requirement that the company need to use your profile to go into certain project, or say especially the government projects, yes, you need that certificate. So again, when you are studying, get the time you have, instead of play games. You myself, you just learn how to hack. Okay, then get a certificate. Okay, one stone kill two birds. You're still playing, okay, but you're playing something more excited compared to just animation, right? So yeah, spend the time wisely when you are still studying. Yeah, this is my advice as well. Same with that. Right.
All right.
Just to add on, sorry, yeah. I've posted a link, hopefully in the chat. Hopefully you can use it as a guide. I'm not saying that that's a how to say, definite way that you should be aiming to do, but it's just a guide, right? A lot of people ask me, so I what I found useful, so I just posted it. Okay.
All right. So I guess this question I would target it to Mr. Allen, but I see Mr. Allen has replied, so I will rephrase it a bit. So for OSCP or any offensive security certifications, what are your opinions on these type of certifications? And especially that I realized that Firmus also has CREST certifications. So in terms of CREST certifications and offensive security, in terms of pen testing, what are your opinions for this certification?
Okay, these two are technical certification that one is CREST is required by Bank Negara, CRT, CRPT, or whichever. These are all required by Bank Negara as part of the pen test requirement to the financial sector. And to obtain it is not easy, and I suggest, if you is still in the mood of studying, you may actually go for it. But of course, it's not cheap. It costs you a few $100s of US. But of course, it will definitely help you in terms of career if you're joining a company like us with those certified, CREST approved certified pen tester or security analyst, CPSA. Immediately your salary will be increased and jumped. And OSCP is also a very technical cert, for pen test, as far as I know, because my technical team will definitely know better. So it's also not easy as well. So it's always good to have these two if it's possible, but it's not easy. But it doesn't require any years of experience for you to go for that. Like CSSP, it is more academic. Then you probably need a working experience for 5 years to obtain it. But all this cert, you can actually obtain it by now if you're good enough. So just go for it.
Okay, let me just chip in on OSCP. So I've personally known a few people who's taken OSCP. One of them was my ex-colleague. He's of 20 plus years, doing a lot of hacking and red teaming, penetration testing type of work. When he went for OSCP, it took him 3 tries. Okay, and I also know a very young chap last year, not yet graduated. He's already got OSCP. So years of experience doesn't mean anything to that one. It is skill-based entirely.
Then adding on to that, how reliable do you think websites like Hack the Box or Try Hack Me are in learning the skills for pen testing?
I have no comment. Sorry.
What do you mean by reliable?
I mean, do you think that these websites for penetration testing games, so to speak, are very good are recommended for students to further develop their technical skills? Because there has been a conversation about knowing how to do penetration testing practically, but they know how to do it practically, but they do not know what the tools are for. So in terms of knowledge and practical use, there are always that difference. That I know how to hack the system, but I don't really know what my tool does.
Yeah. Lau, you want to say something, or do you want me to?
You can go ahead first.
Okay. So from those kind of hack in the box, hacker server, there's a lot of environments where you can actually try it out, because as Ong said earlier, right, just hack around and learn. But that is a line that is a thin there, which might actually crisscross into so-called as illegality. Okay, so when you don't want to cross the line, particularly as a student, you can go on to all of these environments that gives you that opportunity to go and hack around, try to find the vulnerability or exploit it, and then use the tool, go and learn on the tool, see how to use it, and then get it done, and then you capture the flag and whatever. That's a definite advised, recommended path to learn a lot of tools and techniques. See, tools come and go. Whatever tools that is available 3 years back may not be here today. There are a lot of tools that is available 6 months back has gone out with no support, with no people supporting it. So tools come and go. As you are actually using those tools, try to understand how it works and try to understand the concepts, because when another tool comes by, you'll be able to port it immediately because you know how it works. Right? That's my Lau.
Okay, so similarly, like coding, people who are good in coding, right? Instead of just running the tools, you should open the exploit and see what is inside it. There are shared codes. I think it's Ruby and Perl and Python and all that, right? So if you are good in those programming languages, you see how those exploits are being done, right? If you want to understand how buffer overflow works, then you look into the code, how they are doing it, how they found it. You try to understand the mechanics behind it, then you write your own code. That's how you get better and better and better. So these platforms are used to improve you, to improve your skills, to hone your skills, to test your understanding. to see how you utilize what you've learned and move on to the next stage. So in some essence, these platforms get you started, but to graduate beyond that is really depending on yourself. So that's why we talk about, if you have passion, you're not going to ask questions. You're going to do it yourself. You're going to try it. You're going to find the answers yourself by self-discovery, by testing, by just doing it yourself. These platforms just get you started. Okay, I hope this helps you.
To add on, in terms of those platforms, what do you think about capture the flag competitions compared to real life penetration testing?
Okay, so in some ways it's not too different. In some ways it's very, very different as well. So you can take them because you're learning. So there is a defined goal that you need to do, right? Just now I mentioned about red team. So if you search about what red team is about, it's actually, there's no rules for that one. You can use penetration testing tools. You can write your own code. You can try many things. You can drop a USB in front of the company and you might be able to get in. So it's many different things. Yes, it can be different between capture the flag games or these type of platforms where you are learning to do something, but in real life you are using the mechanism, the idea behind it, the techniques which you learned before to try to do it in real life. It's going to be very different because those things, those platforms are meant for you to learn. They're not real companies. Real companies, they have advanced beyond that. They have better protection. If you're talking about big companies like Google's and Facebook's, they have billions to spend to try to protect all of this one. You need to think of ways to get around that.
Right, let me add on to it. All right, the CTF kind of a stuff is more for you to, as Lau said, for you to understand the tactics, the techniques, the processes, which you will be using during your full-fledged pen test, but in a more controlled way. Again, I want to pick up the words from what Lau said. In this CTFs and all this practice ecosystems where you don't mind if you crash anything out in that process. But in a real pen test, you can't afford that, right? You can't simply take a tool and just start shooting in dark, thinking that you might find something. That's is allowed in the CTF, but is no way the right thing to do in pen tests.
All right. How about Mr. Allen? Do you have anything to add on this? No? All right. How about Mr. Ong or Mr. Avis? There's nothing. All right. So we'll move on to the final section. So this will be about any key takeaways do you want to give the students and any final word of advice. So let's start with Mr. Allen.
Okay, I'll make it short because it's dragging too long for the event. In my personal opinion is that if you are IT, you study IT and you love cybersecurity, this will be a definitely right decision and right choice for you. Go all the way out, get yourself specialized in some area, or if it's not, also get yourself to work with a good cybersecurity company. Then from there you learn from different spectrum of the cybersecurity product to services to solution or whichever, and then excel yourself here. One day you'll probably end up, as a head of IT security, or you end up like Mr. Lau, as the CISO of organization, and it won't go wrong because when transformation and digitalization is moving ahead and moving at a rapid speed, cybersecurity is something required. Those days, 20 years ago, cybersecurity is an optional item. Okay, right now it's no longer an optional item. Just like right now, your condominium, your resident area, shopping malls, everywhere, airport, bank, security is not optional. Because why? The moment you have business, you need security. The moment you have digitization, IT, IoT, or even IR 4.0, security is needed. So you won't go wrong for this industry. Please go all the way out, and hopefully you see you in the top one day. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clement?
All right. Okay. Second, whatever Alan said, guys, if you are in cybersecurity and you're doing cybersecurity major or specialization, you are in the right place, right? It is an industry that is going to grow, and All that is needed is your passion. Hard work, keep yourself up to date every day. Spend at least 30 minutes to an hour to understand all the latest attacks that has come in and how it's working. If you keep on doing that, you are the expert and you will definitely excel. All the best, guys.
All right, thank you. Dr. Avis? You...
Okay, so in the end, I would like to say, if you really love the cybersecurity and you really wish to be in the field of the cybersecurity, then go for it. Okay, and then try your best to answer your own questions. So because I always got a feeling, because we have some young generation, the staffs within our company and the consultant, they always like to ask questions. For example, our consultant always like to ask me questions. Then I always throw the question back to them. Then I say, go check on your own standards. And then you come back to me and tell me what standards says. So I know it's your right to ask questions, but before you ask your question to your boss or your superior, please ask yourself first. Okay, if you really wish to be in this field, then you need to be self-motivated and then try to find the answers on your own. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. How about you, Mr. Law?
Okay, I think I started this session talking about passion. So that's number one for me. Without that, there is no drive, right? Then we talk about self-starters. You must ask the correct questions. How do I get started? That's the wrong question. Why my code doesn't work when I've tried this way and that way and whatever not. That's the correct question, I would say. So you need to have the right frame of mind to ask the correct questions, to be passionate, and to ask the correct questions when it's needed.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ong?
My advice, simple: passion, passion, and passion. Because if you're passionate of something, along your career path, you automatically lead you to the place you want. Being as a technical at the end, or you become a managerial role like now, with whatever your passion has now, you keep learning, keep doing, learn new skill, okay, learn tools which can help you to deliver your job. You'll be successful.
All right.
Okay, so important part is passion.
So thank you guys for speaking for us today in the Cyber Initiative event. I'm really grateful for all the speakers that gave their time out in the weekend to basically tell the students how it is like in cybersecurity and how for them to get started. So thank you all. I'm sorry if there's any technical difficulties that happen or any misunderstanding, and I'm sorry that we have passed 5 minutes through the assigned time. But I really want to thank you all for coming today, and I would say have a good weekend. And for attendees, please do scan the QR code to give us feedback on how do you feel about the Cyber Initiative and what we could improve. This feedback form will also help you get your certification of attendance. So please do scan your QR code here. So thank you for everyone for coming.
Thank you.
And now, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Stay safe. Bye.
So for attendees, please scan the QR code before leaving, so we can get you the certification of attendance.